We're going live.
Bow, 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 bow. Dude, that disco rendition of it is actually one of the greatest bops of all time.
True.
Michael, have you heard that?
I feel like I have, but what's it on?
I can't remember. I don't like. It was. I heard it because I used to watch, or used to listen to Rebel Force Radio, and they had it as like their.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, I tried that podcast a couple of times. It didn't click with me.
I loved it for a while, and then I hated it.
If the Rebel Force Radio people are here listening, sorry.
I loved it for a while.
Well, Star Wars Theory used to be good too, but you know what happened.
Isn't that wild? What a world.
It is so crazy. Like at one point, he was a respectable Star Wars YouTuber.
Now, oh, well.
Oh, are we live?
yeah, we're live.
I know. I know.
Oh, man.
I'm sure he's watching.
100%.
We've got one person in the audience, and there's no way it's not him.
Yeah, it's absolutely him.
He's fixing to make a video about it, defending himself.
Jan, I defend your honor.
If you were sitting across from Jan on a bus, you would think she was dead.
Whoa. Some guy named James Hamrick just did the first comment and he said first? What?
That's never happened before.
Never.
This is good content, y'all. This is good stuff.
Yeah, it really is.
Well, oh my gosh, StreamYard is the best. I feel like I'm home.
I know.
We ready?
Yeah.
Dude, I was born ready.
It's me.
It's me, a Mario. All right. Intro time. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Banter Fodder podcast. I'm your host, Droopy Drew, joined by my co-hosts Michael Hoover Dam and Jimmy Jam, the Texas Walker Ranger Man.
The Walker Texas Ranger.
The Texas
Walker.
No,
I'm switching it up today.
I am the Texas Walker.
I walk on Texas.
Yeah. I just switch it up today because
I like it.
You're going to be walking on sand. Do you hear me?
Uh-oh.
I hate sand.
It's coarse and rough, and it gets everywhere. Just like Star Wars Theory.
Oh.
Full circle.
Wait, we're live?
No. We are.
How are y'all doing?
Good.
I miss you guys.
Yeah. We had a little bit of a break again because we've been having nothing but technical difficulties trying out other services. So we're back home on StreamYard.
We're dancing with the one that brought us.
StreamYard, we're sorry for even thinking about it. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Honestly, we didn't know what we had.
We tried an open relationship and it just didn't work.
It didn't work.
Will you take us back?
Well, we're back now. Speaking of being back, we have a link tree in the description now. And that'll be there for all of our episodes moving forward. So you'll be able to join our Facebook group. You'll be able to follow us on Spotify and Apple. And if you're listening on the podcast feed, you'll be able to get to our YouTube channel from there. So definitely check that out. Follow us on all of the platforms and join our Facebook group. Before we jump into Star Wars, though, guys, what have y'all been watching the last 2 weeks? Michael, we'll start with you.
Me first? Okay. Okay, so not a ton of movies, but a little bit of everything. So I did go see Materialists in the theater by Celine Song. It's the second movie from Celine Song. The brilliant director and writer of Past Lives, which was honestly a masterpiece to me. I am still thinking about that movie. Materialist is not nearly that good. It's solid. I don't think Dakota Johnson is very good. I've seen her in a couple of things now, and I always feel a distance from her. I don't know. I don't connect with her as a performer. And she did not have chemistry with either of the two guys in the movie, really. And so, yeah, it was kind of tough because in some ways I liked it because it kind of made you think it was, well, at least it probably tricks people into going to the theater thinking they're going to see like a classic rom-com, but it actually has more depth to it. There is some more drama. I like some of the things that it says about modern dating, but at the same time, because of the performance of the lead, I didn't connect very well to it. So it leaves me a little bit hollow. So solid, but could have been better. I expected more from her, to be honest, but I will be there to watch whatever she does next. Hopefully she picks it up next time. And then otherwise it's been more like TV, and I also finished Breath of the Wild. So that was a huge accomplishment. If you know me at all, this is finishing a video game is really something. But I had a great time with it. And then I started Firefly. I watched the first 2 episodes of Firefly. And I am gonna freaking love this show. I already am into it. I know I'm gonna love this show so much. It's so 2002 in all the best ways.
Would you say that you wouldn't believe your eyes?
I don't know that reference, but no. Is that in the theme song or something? I honestly don't know.
Firefly. You would not believe your eyes.
Oh,
fireflies.
Never mind. I do know that.
Yeah, of course you
do. So that's what I've been watching. On top of that, I've also been binging How I Met Your Mother. I am blowing through that in the most casual of ways, but I love that show so much.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's what I've been watching.
Heck yeah, dude. Jimmy Jam, what about you?
So I continued my Final Destination watch through. I watched Final Destination 3. I find these first 3 movies almost indistinguishable from each other in terms of quality and plot and almost everything, and that's the way I like it. These movies are, I'm telling you, the ensemble. It started in the 80s, and to me, there's a bunch of different flavors happen. But between the 80s through the 2000s, especially the early 2000s, once we get to mid and beyond, things change. But from the 80s to the early 2000s, the ensemble schlocky horror movie, I love it. I absolutely love it. I love just watching a bunch of dumb teens making dumb decisions, the overacting, the goofiness. It's a warm blanket for me because I know what to expect and I always get it. After that era, they decide to start being more real movies in that the acting starts getting better and the gore starts getting more realistic. Therefore, the charm completely leaves the genre for me. And I no longer just have fun sitting if there's believable torture and slasher kills and stuff and the acting is believable and it looks real and violent and it feels wrong, I'm like, oh, none of this is fun anymore. Let's get back to fun 80s prosthetics and overacting exaggerated dumb teens. So Final Destination so far in the franchise is because this 3 was 2006, which means Final Destination is really sticking with the stuff that I like. So that happened, but more importantly, I had a triple feature this last Saturday. I started off the day watching 28 Days Later, and that movie is a masterpiece. I love it. I love this movie so much. It is by far my favorite zombie movie. Cillian Murphy is obviously fantastic. Naomi Harris is obviously fantastic. Brendan Gleeson is obviously fantastic. It's a great cast. The zombie genre kind of does found family just by default because it is, different survivors coming together and whatnot. This is one of my favorite versions of it, and it's also one of my favorite ways of playing out that idea of how do you hold on to your humanity during an apocalyptic situation, and what does man devolve into, and how is he still recognizable, how is he not, and yada yada yada. And I also just love Danny Boyle as a director. He is so interesting visually. He's always doing something weird, but it doesn't feel like crazy wacky experimental. Like, it is experimental, but it also just feels like it's being done in the hands of a guy who just really, really knows film. So you never really feel like unsafe watching it, where you're like, this is probably going to turn out awesome because he kind of knows what he's doing. So I just love being in his hands as like a director. Followed that with, I gave it 5 stars. Then I followed it with 28 Weeks Later. I really like it, but it's a decided step down in most ways. It's pretty thin on theme. It mostly just functions as a fun generic zombie movie. Like, we're at point A, we're trying to get to point B, and I like the genre, which means generic version of the genre I like. And then I ended the day going to see 28 Years Later. This movie is my new favorite movie of the year.
Dang.
I love it. Once again, it's a very there's a lot of crossover in this kind of weird punk, edgy, kind of grungy style that it partially carries over from 28 Days, but it's not at all a retread, and it's not just like we're gonna do 28 Days again. He completely reinvents himself as a director between 28 Days and 28 Years. And there's just so many weird things he does. Like, early on when they're going into the part of the island that's got the infected, we're just like cutting to night, really prompted for no reason. We're just cutting to like creepy night vision of zombies just destroying deer and eating them, and just cutting, like, always reminding you that like you're in the midst of something absolutely terrifying. And he's all the weird stuff he did with like the iPhone rigs that they built for some really kind of cool shots that they do with kills. We had like just that classic arrow cam of you shoot a bow and now the camera is the arrow just launching itself. It's like it's he does weird stuff and weird musical cues and weird, like, but again, it's like it's weirdness married with incredible competence and just really strong direction. The cast is great. Aaron Taylor Johnson is awesome. Jodie Comer is fantastic. I forget the actor of the young lead, but he's really good. And Ralph Fiennes Fiennes, or however you pronounce his name, is such a reliably great presence. Like, if you cast him, you're like, well, we'll at least have one great performer, like, there's no way he's not going to be great. And he's obviously great when he shows up here. And then I won't say anything about it, but then it just ends in one of the most polarizing sequences I've ever sat through. My audience was nobody cared anymore. Like, this was so outrageous that nobody really cared about theater etiquette, and everybody was going, what the heck is this? Oh my gosh. I personally loved it because of the conversations that it creates and because of what it opens itself up to after this. But I love this movie. I think it's fantastic.
I still need to watch all 3 of those.
You do. You absolutely do. Yeah. For me, this past week, I watched 28 Years Later as well. And I got to meet up with a lot of like our great friends on the podcast.
So jealous.
2 people who are actually 3 people that have been a part of the podcast. Ryan, who was on our New Hope episode, Mitch, who was on a couple of our like movie hangs episodes, and then also Curry, which I don't think he's like actually officially been on the podcast yet. Correct me if I'm wrong.
We tried to get him tonight.
Yeah, we
tried
did
to
try
get
to
him
get him
tonight.
tonight.
That the podcast knows.
Yeah, but everyone knows Curry. So yeah, got to see all of them, and we watched 28 Years Later, and it was super awesome. I share a lot of the same sentiment as James. I think that there are just some incredible creative decisions here, and some that I don't know how I feel about, like the polarizing ending. I
That's what I
respect
love
it.
about it.
I respect it, and I kind of love it in some ways. But man, it's out there. He really swings forward with it.
Dang, I can't wait to watch.
Yeah, it's an experience. But I think overall it's a fantastic film. I love 28 Days Later as well. It's my favorite zombie film by far. And one thing that I did want to mention about the 28 trilogy, now going to have another trilogy, whatever you want to call it, the 28 movies. One thing that they do that's really interesting is they take a very different approach from zombies, and they're not just like the typical Living Dead. And so I think that having zombies that aren't, undead also really adds a lot of extra weight to everything. So it's just a very different approach. I also love the speed of the zombies. They just make them a lot more terrifying. And one thing that Danny Boyle and Alex Garland said for Weeks Later is they pulled a lot of inspiration from The Last of Us. And I felt that very, very present while watching the movie. So kudos to them for, not only reinventing the wheel whenever they came out with 28 Days Later, but then also taking inspiration from some more recent zombie media. I think that's just really cool. So
that actually makes me more excited to see it. I'm not a big zombie movie person. Here and there I have one that I like, but there's not a whole lot of weight to them usually, because yes, while they're hard, they deal with hard stuff and they can be depressing. There's not a ton of heart to them a lot of times, because there's not a lot of weight to the other side, because they're already dead. And so I like a different take on that. The zombies are not fully really that way. That's kind of cool. So that makes me even more excited to see it. With The Walking Dead, I got about a season and a half into that show, and I was like, okay, so this is what this show is. I'm already tired of this. So this sounds interesting to me. It sounds much more interesting to me.
Yeah, and do you also have the benefit of each movie feeling very different from one another? And even though 28 Weeks Later is not as good as Days or Years, the fact that it's different than the other two, I think just adds a lot of rewatchability to the trilogy. Makes things a little bit more exciting. But yeah, otherwise, I haven't really been watching a whole lot. Finished watching Traitors season 3. And that show is an absolute blast. Highly recommend it if you want just a fun, sometimes goofy
drama.
Absolutely juicy drama in a reality game show. If you're a fan of mystery stuff, it's super fun because it's kind of got that murder mystery feel to it. So
it is literally if you take it's literally if you take the game, whether you play it as werewolf or mafia or whatever, you take that and you turn it into a reality competition where you have you've got the werewolves, you've got the villagers, or whatever they call it, and you just say you have it play out over the course of a month where everybody has to live in the same shared space and try to keep up their facade. It's
that actually sounds kind of fun.
I love it so much.
And Alan Cumming is the host, and he's great.
Yeah,
he's so good as the host.
I just saw him in GoldenEye.
Yeah. So yeah, highly recommend that show if you want a really fun show to watch. And there's 3 seasons of it. They just announced the cast for season 4. They don't have a release date for that yet, but I think it might be hitting this year.
But we will be there.
We will. Are you a traitor or are you a faithful? Oh man,
My gosh.
it's a great time.
It's so good.
Yeah. So now it's time to get into where the fun begins. Revenge of the
This
Sith.
is where it starts? This is where it begins?
This is where it starts, kind of. So, well, first off, it's crazy. We're 20 years of Revenge of the Sith now. Wild. We had the 20-year anniversary in April, or was it the beginning of May?
May sounds right. At least that's when I saw it. I don't remember if that's the exact.
I think that's
date.
right. Yeah. But we had, you know, re-release in theaters. And I went and saw it. I know Michael did as well. I don't think you did, James, right?
No, I wasn't able to.
Yeah.
You missed
Fake
it.
Star Wars fan.
I saw it last year during the Phantom Menace one.
Yeah, that was last year.
Oh yeah, you went to that. You went to the
The
marathon.
marathon. Yeah.
Okay, he's the best fan of us all, actually.
Yeah. But anyways, we're 20 years of Revenge of the Sith now, which is crazy. And it was a great time rewatching it on the big screen. But I kind of wanted to start this conversation by just taking a look at the prequels as a whole, and kind of just, you know, giving our thoughts on how we feel about the prequels in general. So, you know, we here are prequel fans. I'm just going to say that right now. We're not prequel
Can't deal
haters.
with it. Get out.
Exactly.
Or listen.
So for myself, there was like a period of time where, like, you know, I grew up with the prequels. I love the prequels for a long time, but I'd say there's a period of time later on in my life where, like, I kind of bought into the narrative that, like, the prequels are trash. It's cool to hate on the prequels. I kind of like leaned into that space for a little while. And I'm kind of ashamed about that, because now where I'm at is like, nah, dude, the prequels are awesome. I freaking love them and all their quirkiness and all their flaws. But yeah, I think the prequels, you know, like, I wouldn't trade them for anything else, honestly. A lot of people are like, oh, you know, they should remake them or stuff like that. And I'm just like, no, you're wrong. First off, don't remake Star Wars. Secondly, I think that there's so much about the prequel trilogy that, you know, I would never change at all. And that's including some of the flaws. I think, you know, in a lot of ways, it makes the qualities of the original trilogy and sequel trilogy kind of shine a little bit brighter. But it also sets up the original trilogy so perfectly. And the arc that we get for Anakin throughout the entire trilogy is just phenomenal. The world building is top tier. And if you were here on our last live stream when we were talking about The Force Awakens, one of the big things that we had a problem with the entire sequel trilogy, is how the world building kind of gets, you know, sidelined. And so it was honestly just really needed. You know, the original trilogy has the benefit of being the original trilogy. It's got it's got everything that it needs there. You don't need to necessarily know much more. But with going back to the prequels, they had to make the conscious decision of, like, George Lucas is like, yeah, we gotta build this thing up. Like, how did the state of the galaxy get to the point where it is? And, you know, some other great things have come out of the prequels. We've got some of the best, like, Star Wars material outside of the movies from the prequels, with the Clone Wars, with all of the video games, a lot of the books, all these tie-ins that just flesh the entire, like, prequel era out, and just make it even stronger. So I'm a massive prequel fan. But I wanted to get your guys' thoughts on, like, what you think about the trilogy as a whole. So we'll start with Jimmy Jam this time.
So I love the whole prequel trilogy. Revenge of the Sith in particular, but the whole like I rewatched Phantom Menace and Attack the Clones earlier this year, and like I quote along with like 50% of those movies' dialogue, like all of the moments, every it's just fun. I just have so much fun watching those. The prequels kind of take a machine gun to my like philosophy of art in so many ways, where I'm like, none of this makes sense, and everything that I say about what is supposed to be is like kind of undone by this, because I can't lie and say that I don't love these. I've said it before, and this is going to sound like more demeaning. Well, there is a certain amount of like disparagement in this, but it's also married with like a ton of completely unironic love, which is, there are times where I feel like I've got like a Stockholm syndrome relationship with the prequels, where it's like, yeah, I know this thing right here is really bad. I'm not even trying to say that this thing right here isn't bad, because it is. But I'm kind of glad it's bad in the way it's bad. Like, I think it feeds into my love. Like, there's a charming badness to it. And I think if you're going to have bad elements, you want that. You want it to be charming. But then there are other elements where it's like, I don't even have to like make an apology for that. We should all just know that that's awesome right there. And so really with this trilogy, I'm just kind of cycling through like, yeah, maybe this part isn't great, but I love it for what it is. Like when the lines that we meme to death come up, I'm like, it's the line. And somewhere over the course of time, it stopped being an ironic, like, hey, it's the line. And it became an unironic, it's the line. I love that. To where I'm like, there's no longer the whole, like, it's no longer like a riff tracks Mystery Science Theater kind of watch through of like, let's watch it, make fun of it. It's now like no, shut up. This is the good part. Like it's,
yeah,
like I'm just watching it to watch it.
It kind of has like the same status, I feel like, as the Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy, where like there's so many quotable lines that have been memed to death, but the memes like kind of add like an extra element to it. It's not, like making the films feel worse or anything like that. Like it just adds to the fun of watching it.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I think with Revenge of the Sith is maybe the most memed movie of all time, honestly. And so, but what I also love is like I do enjoy it enough, because I really do love Revenge of the Sith quite a lot. That like whenever I'm really wanting to enjoy it, I'm kind of able to like turn the meme part of the brain off to just be like, all right, I don't care if this has been memed to death. I'm watching Revenge of the Sith on its terms now, and it still holds up that way. So yeah, I'm not somebody who I think is blind to the problems of the prequels. I just think life is more enjoyable by loving the prequels. I love the prequels, and it's no longer ironic. It is just, I like these. I wouldn't trade them for something else. I embrace them as part of Star Wars. I don't have to feel like, oh gosh, yes, it's canon, but blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, I love them. So, and again, with Revenge of the Sith in particular, there are fewer and fewer things that you have to like feel like you're like, okay, sure, not this, but blah, blah, blah. Where you're just like, I think it's a great movie,
Well said. Yeah, I feel like my story really mirrors Drew's in that I went through I grew up with the prequels. I was the perfect age for the Phantom Menace to come out. I was 10. Darth Maul was the coolest. The pod racing, Duel of the Fates. It was amazing. And then, but at that point, I didn't understand what the dialogue scenes were talking about, but like all the trade disputes and all that. But it really didn't matter because I was just in this Star Wars world that I loved, and then Jar Jar was there, and I've always kind of loved Jar Jar. Not always, but I did love him then, and I love him now. Then there was a time when I was older, and I thought it was like I kind of fell into that thing that Drew's talking about. It was cool to make fun of him. It was cool to hate him. And it wasn't putting on an act. Like I genuinely was just like, I hated on them a lot. And it was how I actually did feel about him. And then I started the Star Wars podcast I started A Certain Point of View, my old Star Wars podcast, in about 2018, I think, somewhere around there. And I started watching the Clone Wars, and then I kind of just got engrossed in Star Wars again, just a lot. I was kind of just living and breathing Star Wars, and I watched the prequels again, and I don't know. Over the years, I've watched the prequels probably even since then, at least 5 times each since then, and I have just gained a crazy amount of love for these movies. And even some of, like James, you said it really well. Like it kind of shoots to death what we usually talk about as being good. Oftentimes, it's like all of that doesn't matter suddenly with these movies. I love how it is because of how it is, and I wouldn't change it. Is there some really bad dialogue even in this movie, this movie rules. Revenge of the Sith is incredible. It's a top 5 or 6 Star Wars movie for me. There's a few lines even in this one, and I'm like, huh. But I love it. I genuinely don't change it.
That was great.
No, it's because I'm so in love with you. Like,
I have a soft spot for that scene.
I cringe every time. Oh, so love has blinded you? But I also love it too. And so, yeah, it's this weird thing where it's come around, and I do feel like I've said before, Star Wars is that thing with me is that franchise that I have that I do find it the hardest to be an objective viewer of, because not only do I just think, okay, well, you got lightsabers and blasters and Jedi, the Force, fun pew pew stuff, and I'm there. Like, you don't have to. I'm an easy sell. Even with all of that, Josh says Michael just showed more emotions than the characters in the movie. That's hilarious. Hi, Josh, by the way. But I do feel like this movie is what really puts that to the test for me, is that by all of my standards that I measure any other movies that we talk about, so much of these movies should be just like, oh my gosh, can you believe the choice here? Can you believe that he said this and she said this? I cannot believe they chose to do that. But with these movies, I'm like, I kind of love that they did that. I don't know why, but I love Jar Jar, and I hate that he got less lines as the trilogy went on.
I don't know if I hate that.
The older I've gotten, the more I've come to appreciate Jar Jar. I even have a little figure of him over here.
I actually kind of like Jar Jar a lot.
Yeah, I genuinely do. And, all that to say, I do love this trilogy. And from Drew, you said it really well. It feels like the inverse of the sequel trilogy, in that, like, in the sequel trilogy, the performances are amazing. The filmmaking is really solid across the board, but it's the world building that's just like non-existent for a good bit of it. And it really, it takes a lot of the weight from it. And it takes a lot of the timelessness from it for me. But the prequel trilogy is, a lot of the dialogue is really bad, and it's not like super. There's some of the directions really cool, but some of it's really just like, okay, so you're just setting your camera there and you're standing there. But the world building is incredible, and the politics and the deeper, like the big story being told about the fall of Anakin Skywalker. All of that stuff is so good to me that it's literally like the opposite of the prequels or of the sequels there. So I love these movies. I cannot wait to talk about the inner workings of this movie. And also, I got to say it right at the top, I will not go long without mentioning John Williams. I actually think this is his best Star Wars score.
This is probably my favorite.
This is the best he's ever been, maybe ever. Like, I don't know. That's really something to say, but if you like some of the stuff that he does in this movie, some of it like the movie's great already, but his music takes it to a whole nother level of tragedy. Yeah. And I cannot wait. I will be talking about specific tracks. And yeah, and he was in a whole nother place on this really the whole trilogy, but this movie, I cannot overstate how much I love the score to this movie. So
I want to highlight a conversation that's happening in the chat that's cracking me up.
Okay, let's go.
Where Stone said the prequels are pretty bad, LOL. And Gabe said, "Oh wow, didn't know Stone was a film bro loser." Stone says, "You don't like the prequels or Kenobi either." This comment is what got me. Gabe said, "You filthy slandering rock." I love the prequels. It's just that one of them is not good. So,
and I did see a comment up here from Slasher Fred. He said, I think that this movie is what the original title for Return of the Jedi was originally going to be. That was actually Revenge of the Jedi. Revenge of the Jedi, not Revenge of the Sith. So he then changed it to Return of the Jedi because Jedi don't seek revenge. So yeah. But yeah, also, I just wanted to.
Gabe basically also just came in and regurgitated, or regurgitated sounds bad, reaffirmed what we said earlier, which he said the thing about the prequels is that even when bad, they are still endlessly watchable.
Well said.
Yeah. Because again, it's like we all know that this weird, wonky line reading with the really janky sentence itself is coming up, and we're like, yeah, he said the thing. It's so cool that he said the thing.
Yeah. It's so good. So let's start off the top with what might, I mean, you can say this about a lot of Star Wars films, but this might be the best opening in a Star Wars film.
It's pretty freaking sweet. It's a Clone Wars episode.
It really is, yeah. The only thing that's missing is the narration.
A galaxy divided.
Yeah. I mean, you could really do a great voiceover, like an edit of that, and it would be perfect. It is a Clone Wars episode.
Yeah, 100%. But man, and also the score at the start of this film, it already sets the stage for, being John Williams' best Star Wars score. Or one of his
love that, just the bum bum.
Yep.
Bum bum at the beginning. Like you feel like you're getting into something real.
Oh,
yeah. Seeing Coruscant, seeing all the ships, all of the blasts, all the lasers just shooting through space.
Yeah. That planet reveal shot is
it's an all-timer.
Oh, that's so cool.
And just like that slow like descent down into the battle that we get. Yeah. It takes its time, and it looks so good even today. It looks fantastic.
And that's one thing that this film does often. Like, there's a lot of visual effects that still hold up really well. We'll get to some more.
There's very few that don't in this one, to me.
There's one that stands out to me that always has bothered me, but other than that, and we'll get to it. It's not far, actually. It's in this first little bit. but it's not in the space battle though. This all looks
Space
Whew.
battle top tier.
With that militaristic force theme.
Yes.
That like
oh.
Yes.
I'm telling y'all, it's his best. It really is his best. It is. I will be singing the praises of John Williams all night.
It is, but man, like just everything about this opening just sets the stage perfectly, and I love some of my favorite Star Wars, is Clone Wars. So obviously this opening was kind of just made for me because the like military aspect of Star Wars is so cool. It just looks cool.
I love the Republic. The Republic is like aesthetically my favorite era.
Yep. The Republic, the clone troopers, all the time. And I love the banter that we get with Anakin and Obi-Wan here, like while they're in literally the most intense like space battle of all time. And they're just like bantering around.
Oh, this is going to be easy.
This is where the fun begins. And also keep in mind, Obi-Wan, like they established he hates flying. So this is like
well, he doesn't mind flying, but what he's doing is suicide.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I'm such a fan of this opening. And even like you get like a huge introduction of like a lot of new like droid tech. You get the buzz droids, which those are so much freaking fun.
That is so cool.
Also
I
love
agree, bad idea.
all the new like droid ships that they add are freaking awesome. The shots of the clone troopers and then the droid ship cannons and just seeing like the massive shells fly out of them.
I love that all that stuff, like when they're loading and it's just the tracking shot going, oh, it's so cool.
And the sound effects are so top tier, like the way that the cannon sounds and then when it reloads, man, it's just perfection, cinema at its finest. But yeah, like I don't know that, like I don't know what other to say than just this is one of, if not my favorite Star Wars opening. It's so freaking perfect. And even like when we go, further ahead and actually like land onto Grievous's ship, I love that whole scene, that whole sequence. Like we get some great humor with R2-D2.
He's trying.
No loose wire jokes. I didn't say anything. Did I say anything?
Trying.
Oh man, it's perfect. Like I even love like some people might find it super goofy, but I love how goofy it is. I love when R2 shoots the oil all over the super battle droid and then catches him on fire. Like,
bro, come on, R2 is the best.
Seriously, it's perfect.
Gosh, the more we talk about this opening, the more I realize how much I freaking love it. Include like all of y'all. It would probably be embarrassing if y'all knew how often my siblings and I quoted this. Like if we're ever doing anything like that requires aim and we get something, immediately somebody's like, "We got him, R2." Just like and R2 is surprisingly like not really much of a character in the first two, and then he arrives in Revenge of the Sith maybe at his best, and one of the funniest sequences ever is whenever he's like, don't worry, R2 will come, and he just screams and flies into the room and bounces. Oh, it kills me.
So good. And then what is the quote? I might be mixing up the way that it goes, but is it we're supposed to be going up, not down, or is it yeah. So good.
And then another scene, like it's one of those like lines that's just said super quick in passing, but it cracks me up. Whenever they're running and then the ray shields go up, and Obi-Wan's like, "Wait a minute, we're smarter than this." And Anakin's just like, "Apparently not."
That's one that I quote often as well.
How can we let this happen? We're smarter than this.
So good.
Oh,
good.
I'll say the visual shot that bugs me every time. It is when I think Dooku uses the Force to bring down that platform onto Obi-Wan. Remember that?
Mm.
And it's like in the throne room that looks a lot like the Return of the Jedi throne room.
Interesting.
But the way that the platform looks when it falls, it looks really like almost a cardboard box fell onto
it's
it or
pretty
whatever.
video gamey to me.
Yeah. It looks super video gamey. That's like really the only one I can think of off the top of my head that I was like, "Oh, that looked really bad."
His flip is also kind of janky to me.
Yes.
Does this flip?
Yeah, you're right. But like for the most part, this is I was talking about this earlier. Of course, I'm always talking about Star Wars, but I was talking about this earlier. I always talk about how much I love the Phantom Menace era. 1999 was to like 2000 is such a great little year because it was this era where CGI had gotten to a point where it looked really solid, but it hadn't gotten so good yet to where you could use it for everything. So there was so much practical effects with it still.
Yeah.
So the Phantom Menace visually holds up really well to me, just like a lot of movies do from that time, like the Lord of the Rings movies. And there's so much practical along with the CGI. And so, but then we get here with these Attack of the Clones. There's definitely some visuals that aren't as good. It's all digital, but it still looks really good a lot of the time. A little rough sometimes.
Sometimes
Pretty bad. Yeah. This movie, for the most part, really does still look very, very good on just about all the way through, with a few notable, but very impressive on this movie for sure.
Yeah.
What do y'all think of like the change in dynamic between Obi-Wan and Anakin between the two films?
I love it so much. It feels like it felt like that had to happen at some point, the way that the story eventually that we know it goes. And we in A New Hope we get Obi-Wan says, "In a good friend," who's a good friend. And if he would have stayed the way he was in Attack of the Clones, I never would have felt that at all. I would have just like, he's the younger brother that drives me crazy. And you still get that in this movie, but you also have like a true brothership and friendship together with a lot of mutual respect. And I think it really bridged it well. And I think the Clone Wars only helped that. But I do think that it was a pretty natural progression, especially with the passage of time between the two films as well. So I love it, and I think it helps that bridging that line in A New Hope.
Yeah, I agree. I love the new dynamic, and I think that the opening of the film sets that up really well, especially whenever Dooku like knocks out Obi-Wan and Anakin's kind of having to take charge. They kind of just like naturally give us that progression in the film itself, but the added history of the Clone Wars definitely changes things. And also like when I rewatched it in theaters, I very like consciously paid attention to like everything that we've had with the Clone Wars and the Bad Batch, and like setting all these things up. And I didn't realize like it's super easy to kind of just feel like there's not that much time that goes between episode 2 and 3. But also within episode 3 itself, there's like long like periods of time that are like jumped between each other in the film. So like whenever they crash land the droid ship onto Coruscant, between that and like everything else that happens in the film, there's like a good chunk of time that passes. And so I was like being very like consciously like paying attention to that. And it's something that I had never really like thought of before. But I think they like that George Lucas does like a good job of in the context of the film, like showing that.
Yeah,
Gabe says, sorry, really quick. Gabe said, Ewan brings years of warmth and brotherly frustration in every line reading. I think that's a really well said.
Yeah, like man, of all of the things about the trilogy that people could say it, and I think everybody's basically agreed on this. Ewan comes out unscathed.
He
Like,
looks so great. So did Liam Neeson. The little
Yeah.
bit he was in it.
but for somebody who is featured so prominently in all three films, and for
Yeah.
the three films to have the reputation that they have, for him to like be so central in all of it, and to come out and everybody's like, "Not you, Ewan. You're perfect."
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
he's just he's perfect in all three of these. But like, so I had asked about it because I know some people kind of have a problem in terms of like the change in dynamic. Not in that they don't like the new one, but that they're like, gosh, this is so different from Attack of the Clones. But like, for me, while it is true that they just react to each other and interact with each other so differently than Attack of the Clones, to me, that's part of what you get to do with time jumps. Like, that's part of the fun with time jumps, is like,
That's where the fun begins.
exactly.
How many
whenever-
times?
we're gonna get a lot more out of that.
Yeah.
But like, whenever you're like, all right, this is set 3 years later, part of the fun is to be like, oh, what's changed? What's different? And I do think that starting this off mid like war scene, having them banter the way they do tells you like, and they started this, like, they were at the beginning of this war together, so they went from master and apprentice to brother in arms 3 years ago, and this is the result of 3 years of brother in arms kind of deal. And so to me, it feels pretty natural, and it also smooths it all over just because of how perfect I think their dynamic with each other is. Like, their dynamic is the main reason why this movie to me is such a tragedy.
Yeah.
Because I think of Revenge of the Sith and I think of them as a duo, and then you're like, oh, but they kind of get separated after like Act 1. It's so like, that's how much of an impression they leave on me, where I'm like, oh yeah, they're barely in it together. But when they are, gosh, I absolutely love it, and it hurts my soul to
it leaves
see
such
them.
a like lasting impact throughout the entire film. And yeah, I think, like, Star Wars is no stranger to like having time jumps. The original trilogy had time jumps, and Star Wars, the movies, like outside of the 2 spinoffs that we've had, have always been told in these trilogies that aren't necessarily always like back to back in its time period. And it's very easy to think that way, just because when you're watching a trilogy, you're like, okay, it's a sequel, so it's going to be like taking place right after the last one. But all 3 trilogies have long stretches of time between each film, or at least the first 2 trilogies do, for sure.
I wish the third one did, but that's neither here nor there.
Agreed. Yeah, and it again, like, I mean, we're gonna say this a lot. I think the Clone Wars really does add a lot to it too. But even like, I mean, if you think about all of the battles that they must have at this point they've had together, all of the experiences in it's since Attack of the Clones that they have had together up to this point, their dynamic is bound to be so different. But even if you look at it, even before the Clone Wars, like before I saw that show, I thought that as a movie, the time jump worked very, very flawlessly. It's very a natural progression of what these 2 characters would be like.
I think their change in dynamic is natural, and I also, part of me feels like, I don't want to. It's not like, oh, I'm going to lay all the blame at Obi-Wan, but it almost makes me wonder as if he became like their brotherhood, like just their brotherly relation is so much like a brother relationship where he's shouting, "You are my brother," that I almost wonder if Anakin didn't, if he too much left like the father position for the brother position, and if maybe Anakin was still needing kind of that Qui-Gon fatherly presence. And I think having like that kind of buddy equals kind of dynamic with Anakin kind of let what was going on with Anakin slide under Obi-Wan's radar.
Yeah. Have you heard Dave Filoni talk about that before, by any chance? He actually talked about that at one point, and I thought, to his credit, I think it's one of the best things I've heard him say about Star Wars. But he actually talked about that very thing. Duel of the Fates is called Duel of the Fates because of exactly that. If Qui-Gon lives, he has that father figure, but because he didn't, he does have a different path because that is sorely missed. And I think I never really thought about it that way until he said that, and I was like, oh my gosh. Yeah, it's really solid. But it does, that raises a good point. Even if Qui-Gon does die and Obi-Wan just remains in the more fatherly, borderline verbally abusive way,
we didn't have to
Attack of the Clones. You wonder if Anakin really, if he needed more of that. But I don't know. That's hard to say because I feel like it could have sent him down an even more evil path if Obi-Wan acted that way all the time. So I do think that's a really interesting conversation to have, though.
Yeah, I don't like. I mean, I definitely don't think what they needed to do is maintain the course from Attack of the Clones, but that if he could have channeled his growing love and affection for Anakin into the more like Qui-Gon style fatherly, just because I think his guard gets let down if he sees Anakin as a brother, as opposed to the guy who like the benevolent father who's like supposed to kind of be keeping an eye on him and is like, hey man, you've been going through some stuff. Let's sit down and talk about that, as opposed to that's Anakin, he'll be all right.
Yeah. In a way, like it kind of, I never really like thought about this before, but I'm thinking about it now. Kind of like mirrors, the way that Anakin like gives into attachment with Padme, and Obi-Wan kind of gives into attachment with Anakin. I definitely think that the duel at the end of the film would have been much different if Obi-Wan were in that like more father figure role. He probably wouldn't have even, like tried to win him over as much. I feel like probably would have gone more for the kill. So yeah, that's an interesting point.
Yeah. So it's all Obi-Wan's fault.
Yeah, it really is. But we love Obi-Wan.
We do.
Oh yeah.
Gosh,
and doesn't he just look great in this movie?
He looks so
This is his
great.
best look in the whole franchise.
Yeah.
He really does.
I do love the mullet, though. I'm not gonna lie.
I love the mullet. I love the Jesus look. But
by the way, I have the movie kind of going while we're talking in the background here, and they just got to the they have rescued they've quote unquote rescued Palpatine, and Palpatine's like, come on, we leave or we'll never make it. And Anakin says his fate will be the same as ours. And I love that he refuses to leave Obi-Wan. That's the relationship that they have now. Like, not even hesitating. I love it so much. Minutes after he just kills Dooku, beheads him.
And we should talk about that scene.
Yeah.
Sequence.
Yeah.
Kill him now. Do it.
So
many memes.
So another thing that I love about the prequels, or why I think the prequels are so important. Like, if we had just had Revenge of the Sith, like a lot of people are just like, skip the first two and watch Revenge of the Sith, which I totally disagree with. But Attack of the Clones, especially, just such a good job of setting up where Anakin is going to be at, and his struggle with like the pull between the light and the dark side. Setting it up with the Tusken Raiders, and then him getting his hand chopped off by. Oh, we're gonna say.
I will say I think it does a good job setting up those ideas. One of the scenes, one of the lines, it does always. I can't help but chuckle every time in Attack of the Clones is Anakin is like confessing to like, I wiped out an entire village, men, women, children, and Padme is like, to be angry is to be human.
Oh man.
It's really Padme's fault if you think about it.
It is.
That line just cracks me up every time.
Yeah.
It's not that big a deal.
But like that part aside, like it just does a good job of setting up, this constant like pull between the light and the dark that he has. So when we actually like do get to the scene where he's fighting Dooku, who chopped off his hand, I like there's so much like believability, and again, like I just feel like a natural progression into Anakin, being influenced by Palpatine to kill Dooku, because they're getting to the tail end of the war here, and between Dooku getting away, and then also Grievous having a series of escapes throughout this war. I feel like there's also like a part of Anakin that's kind of just like, you know what? Like, I'm tired. I'm tired of this. Like, let's just end it now. So it's like he's being influenced by the dark side. And then also it's just time to end the war. I feel like they just do, like, I don't know. I really buy into it. And also like, I was like, holy crap, he just freaking chops his head off. When I was a kid, I was just like, there's no way.
Sound.
Oh yeah.
And they address that really well too in the movie and in the Clone Wars show, of Anakin like struggling between, struggling with the philosophy of the Jedi, like whether or not the Jedi do everything that is necessary to end the war, like whether or not that the Jedi way is good enough to end the war. He very much is in conflict with that, because sometimes he takes matters into his own hand and goes beyond that and does exactly what he does in this scene. But then before he does that, he also says, I shouldn't. It's not the Jedi way. He knows he's very in conflict with that. And I love that even now we're seeing, obviously when he slaughtered a village of men, women, and children in the last movie, that was clearly more of the, that was a lot of the downfall starting then. But really, I love, even at the beginning of this movie, when he's at his like peak of really like heroism and awesomeness as General Skywalker, he's struggling with these conflicts on the inside, and just really trying to determine which way to go and what's right. And I think it's really interesting, and I've always loved that. But I think the Clone Wars really helped even more with that. You see, like, there's conversations that he has with Tarkin in the Clone Wars. It's like, yeah, I see why these two get along well later on. Like the Jedi, they talk about how the Jedi just does, they don't do what it takes to win sometimes. And anyway, I love seeing bits of that. I think they did a good job of sprinkling that throughout the Clone Wars, but I love it here in this movie, in this moment. And, as he kills Dooku, not only seeing his like regret for what he just did, but also like seeing Palpatine's plan just coming in, like his claws are so in Anakin already. And it's just the heartbreak starts.
Yeah. And I don't think it could be a true tragedy if it didn't feel that way. Because like I think for a tragedy to work, there has to be, in some ways it can feel inevitable, but in other ways it has to feel like, but maybe if there was just a way, like there are all the jokes and memes about like, maybe I just put in the alternate edition of Revenge of the Sith where they remain brothers and nobody dies. And it's like, that's how you feel. Cause you're like, I don't like, I love this movie, but I don't want it to happen that way.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, I love that, like right there in that moment, his inclination is to say, but I shouldn't. And you're like, if he had any other ear or any other mouth whispering in his ear other than Palpatine, and that, how much would change because of that. Like his fall in so many ways doesn't seem inevitable.
Yeah.
Because he's always got a self-awareness of his problem. Like even in in this one again, you got the lines like, I want more and I know I shouldn't.
And I know I shouldn't.
Like he's aware of it. He's not blinded by this. And so you're like, if he just had somebody other than Palpatine there. And again, like he is a Jedi, but he's also a general. And so you've got the flippin' Supreme Chancellor there telling you, kill him. Your orders are to kill him. You're bringing the war to an end. And Anakin is a very pragmatic kind of utilitarian thinker in a lot of ways. And so it's like, oh, fine. I guess that makes sense. And I also think that Palpatine is just, it's like, I mean, it's the way like the worst kinds of lies work, where it's like there's also, you make sure that there's enough truth in it to like stick. And Palpatine, like I don't know how it took me as long as it did, and it had to be pointed out to me. Like I felt like such an idiot when it was in this scene, like after he does it and Palpatine's like, he was too dangerous to be left alive. And then whenever he's going over to try to intervene with the arrest of Palpatine, and Mace Windu is like trying to kill him, and Anakin's like, he has to stand trial, and Mace says he's too dangerous to be left alive. I was like, oh, I never noticed they said the same thing, and like that blew my mind. And I was like, they're like Palpatine, like he really did have just enough dirt on the Jedi and like planted just enough like reasonable doubt in Anakin's mind that like a lot of it feels like, as much as you don't want to see it, dominoes kind of like tipping over and everything falling into place. And so I think, again, maybe not always the dialogue, but the broad strokes writing has some really, really cool, really smart things going for it.
Yeah. The whole trilogy, and then especially Clone Wars, does like it, like behind the scenes, you're constantly seeing like the flaws and the kind of the cracks in the Jedi. And Palpatine's like always just 2 steps ahead with that. And I think what I love about the prequel trilogy, it doesn't paint the Jedi as like bad or evil, or like, their flaws, like they're flawed, but ultimately like they're still good. They're still the good guys. So, like a lot of times now we get a lot of media where it's like, a deconstruction of this and that. And it's more so focused on like, the flaw part, but like there's still like so much like good that the Jedi do throughout this trilogy. And I think like Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan are like 2 perfect examples of like prime Jedi who are just straight up good. Like they're doing things that are for the better of like the galaxy. And then you also get like some of the other sides of the Jedi with like Mace Windu.
And even Yoda,
Yeah.
like Yoda's the guy who's like, because Mace is like, we should probably tell him that our ability to use the Force is diminished, and Yoda's like, nah. Let's not tell him that, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm really glad, Drew. I'm really glad you brought this up because that is a pet peeve of mine about people talking about the prequel era and the Jedi. And it's like a lot of times it comes across as people saying it was really all the Jedi's fault. Anakin is really not to blame. And I'm like, guys, I mean, it wouldn't be a tragedy at all if Anakin wasn't to blame himself. These are his choices, but there's a master at work here puppeting everybody. And the Jedi fell for it. Anakin fell for it. And it that is why it's so sad. That is why it's a tragedy. It takes away a lot of the heaviness and the weight of everything. If you put everything on the Jedi are doing what they really think is the right thing, and in the process, they are saving a lot of people's lives. They are trying to do good, but they are getting wrapped up in stuff that they were never meant to get wrapped up in. And that is because they have been blinded. But that doesn't mean that the Jedi are evil necessarily. It just means that the Jedi were flawed and they should be improved on as we go.
That's why. Oh, sir.
Oh, I was gonna say, like, at this point in time, I know you're gonna bring up the acolyte.
Oh no, I would rather never talk about the acolyte.
I was gonna say, like, removing that from the equation.
Yeah, because if the acolyte is canon, then the Jedi burn it all down, I guess.
Yeah, removing that from the equation, like, the Jedi has gotten to a point in time of the prequels where, like, they, the galaxy has been at peace for a long, long time. And, there's things here and there, like these conflicts that, they're protecting different, like, sections of the galaxy. But, like, I feel like they've kind of gotten to a point where, because they think the Sith is gone and all these different factors, like, they've become complacent. And that's where, like, a lot of their, like, flaws start to sink in. It's because they kind of, in some ways, lost, what they were. But it's not in a way, like I said, where a lot of deconstruction media is just, like, showing, well, they're flawed because they're bad. I think, like, a lot of their flaws are just natural flaws that you'd see in, like, any sort of, like, organization that's, like, protecting so and so. Like, there's always going to be, like, some sort of flaw, even though, they're the light side of the force. They're the good guys. We always see in all of Star Wars that all of the good guys have flaws. Luke Skywalker has flaws.
Yeah.
And he is the quintessential Jedi. So I think that George Lucas was never intending to say that the Jedi were wrong or bad.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they were wrong plenty of times here.
But that they were bad, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And they were probably, like, there's never really a time where I think they were fooled by this war, but they weren't on the wrong side of the war. If that makes sense. Although I do like that the Clone Wars does elaborate on those separatist side in ways that really make them more compelling.
Yeah.
All of this talk, I'll just get the one comment in. All of this talk is why everybody should love The Last Jedi. Because The Last Jedi does this so freaking perfectly, where The Last Jedi is not blind to everything Lucas was saying here. Because I'm fully with everything Drew just said, where it's like Lucas was both, he was not painting the Jedi as the bad guys. He was painting them as flawed.
Mm-hmm.
And The Last Jedi, like, calibrated it perfectly. Like, it knew it was so on Lucas's wavelength, where it's like it was reckoning with the flaws. It wasn't sugarcoating them. It's like this, they allowed this, they presided over this, blah blah blah. But it wasn't in that kind of angsty deconstruction that deconstructs with, but not for the sake of then reconstructing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It had the maturity to examine the order, to do all that, and it had the good sense to know that you could still say, I will not be the last Jedi, and have that be a
Right.
triumphant line. Like, the Last Jedi is still aware that, like, it's a good thing. Like, the Jedi are a net positive. When a character says he's not going to be the last one, we cheer. No matter
Mhm.
how much we've done, like, the whole, like, yes, they've got flaws, yeah, blah, blah, blah. But, like, we can't caveat ourselves out of the ability to say that they weren't good.
Yeah.
So, like, I love that line in there where it's like, and you can't say, well, that's because you haven't thought about XYZ. Last Jedi gets through it. It gets through the yes, this, yes, blah, 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 blah. And it just still has the good sense to end, be like, you know what? The Jedi will continue. And that is beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, dude, that is so funny that you brought that up, because literally what my next thing to say was about that exact thing. And so everything you said, I just second that. And I also just say, I think I also just, I love that in the movie they do like it at at the part of the movie where Luke is wrong. Luke is going through it. Luke is not the Luke that we know. And he says that it's time for the Jedi to end. And then he explains why he has these feelings. It's like, well, he's right about a lot of this stuff, right? But as the movie goes on and as his character goes on this journey, he realizes, no, it doesn't need to end. It needs to evolve. It needs rebirth. It needs to get better than it was before. But overall, the Jedi existing is a good thing for the galaxy. And at the end of the movie, that's where he is. People like quote The Last Jedi and say they think it's time for the Jedi to end. No, he said that in that place in his journey.
The very beginning of his arc.
It's like when people say, "Oh, the point of the movie is let the past die." No, that's what the villain said.
Yeah.
Like, you guys are stupid. But
media literacy.
But I just love that they did not leave Luke there, and his thought of the Jedi did not stay there. It's time for the Jedi to end, to I will not be the last Jedi. And then, yeah, it's so powerful. And so, yeah, going back to the prequels, I just think it's even at their worst, and they're even in the, man, we really see in particularly, I'm thinking of Ahsoka's the wrong Jedi arc. We see the hubris of the Jedi. We see just the arrogance. Oh my gosh, some of the things they say to her, like, this was a test. When I just want to punch all of them in the face. And when they try to get back on her side.
Says citizen.
Oh, dude. Yeah. So, like, there's times where it's like, okay, the Jedi are going about all of this wrong. They are in the wrong in a lot of in a lot of their systems and how they do things. But overall, they're not evil. They are deceived and they're making mistakes, but they are also helping a lot of people. And also, they don't just kidnap kids. By the way, that's another thing people say. Like, the Jedi would go to people's houses and kidnap their kids and take them to the Jedi Temple. No, they would go to their houses and meet with them, and if they wanted to go, they would bring them. But that's not taking people's kids and kidnapping them to be Jedi.
I think people as in Halo, the Spartans are kidnapped at 7 years old, and they're replaced with a clone that dies after like 7 days or something like that.
I can see the confusion. No, but
they're both sci-fi. They're both like, space opera sci-fi franchises. It makes sense, right?
That just always pisses me off when people say that. I'm like, no, they did not. They don't do that. You can disagree with their methods all you want, but that's not what they're doing. They're willingly going with them, or their parents are sending them with, or whatever. But yeah, that's another thing. That's just a whole.
Yeah.
So this first act is great, though.
Oh my gosh, man.
It really is. One thing that's in this act, though, that I want to point out that is one of like this is more like a nitpicky kind of complaint that I have. But whenever Anakin is reunited with Padme, like at the start of the film here, Yoda and Mace Windu are like, or is it Yoda?
They're right
Yoda
there.
They're literally right there, man. Like they're not that far away, and it's like, you know, there's nothing discreet about that.
And he doesn't excuse himself like indiscreetly. He like jogs off.
Yep.
He runs toward the pillars.
Like, so my headcanon is that just they knew like the whole time, you know. So yeah, that's like one thing that every single time I watch it, like I can't not like just point out like, man, that was an interesting choice there.
But to try to save that scene, I think that gives us one of the best moments from Hayden. Whenever Padme says that she's pregnant, the range of emotion that immediately passes through his face, where there's like the, oh frick, oh no, what are we gonna, can we and then it's like he runs through an entire like journey in his head of like the implications, what is it, blah blah blah, and then it's like he finally arrives at like the more gut instinct of like, oh wait, but like
my baby is a blessing.
I watch that scene, and truly, like, to me, one of the best tests of like a good actor is like, can you just look at their eyes and feel like they're not just like saying the words, but like they're thinking as the character, you know? Like it's not just sorry, I dropped something. Actually, I dropped my Imperial credit shit.
Nice.
But it's not just like, are they saying the lines right? But it's like whenever they're just standing there, does it look like they're thinking in character? And like, watch that scene and the way he takes that news and just the journey he goes on. I think his performance right there is so believable.
Yeah, it's very good. I think, and I think that Hayden gets. I'm really happy for him lately, man. Him having. I feel like he's having his day in the sun. People really came around to him. At least maybe it's just because the kids that watched him grew up and they love him. But I just think that Hayden got a lot of unnecessary hate for something. I'm not saying he didn't have some awkward line deliveries, but he was delivering awkward lines. But I think that overall, especially in Revenge of the Sith, he plays Anakin really well. Particularly when he goes darker. But I think you're right as far as like the hopeful, you know, I think he can still be good side of Anakin. That was a great performance moment for him.
Yeah,
for sure.
And I guess like, I don't know. Do y'all have anything else that you want to mention from the first act?
No. I love it, top to bottom.
It's fantastic.
Yeah. Two more things. Grievous's theme goes super hard.
Bum, 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 bum. Gosh, dude, it feels like it's just like the deepest horns. I love it.
Yeah. And then also, man, the sound effect when he's like pressing the like buttons for the what's it called? The AirPod?
The escape pods?
The escape pod, yeah.
AirPods.
The AirPod. The escape pod. I just had pod in my mind, so I was just like, I'm gonna say AirPod. The boom, boom, boom. So satisfying.
Banter, he let no opportunity to make a sound iconic go by.
I know, man.
Yeah.
He's iconic.
So we just need this door to open. It's like, oh, I gotcha.
Yeah. It's so good. So I wanted to mention that real quick because we didn't really talk about Grievous, but all the Grievous stuff here is great.
Time to abandon ship.
So good. And then also Anakin saying you're shorter than I expected.
Also, I love the little B1 droid handing him the lightsabers and him just grabbing them rudely. You're welcome.
You're welcome. I do want to say thank you for bringing that up, James. I love the humor of the droids in this one.
Yeah.
I love them so much. Which is it? I think this is the Clone Wars, but I'm thinking of I just got a promotion.
Yes, yeah.
The older I've gotten, the more I've appreciated the stupid, silly droids talking.
Dude, the Clone Wars kills me sometimes with them.
Yeah. No, that's great.
Oh
man, there was another thing that I wanted to bring up about the first act that I'm blanking on now because I just got so consumed by Grievous. Dang.
He'll come back out later.
Is blinded you.
Yeah. Oh, I remember. One more thing that I wanted to mention about the first act. I think I love how fun the first act is. There's a lot of humor, and it's just overall super entertaining, which makes the tragedy of the film hit even harder.
Yeah.
George Lucas was like, how can we just like find every single way to make every aspect of this film hit hard when we get to the like super intense stuff?
My heart, it's like my heart reacts whenever they have the conversation after they land, after they have another happy landing, and they're doing the whole like this whole operation was your idea. So much like their last exchange is super fun, and I love how brotherly they are with each other. It's like, you deserve this. Have your day with the pop.
Yeah.
All of that. Whenever that conversation ends and Obi-Wan tells may the Force be with you, and they part. It's like that's the moment that my heart just, I feel like it shudders every time. Every time they have their last line, I'm like, the whole movie shifts now. Like,
yeah.
They still have more lines together though later.
That's true.
But
it's
the
like,
the one that gets me is when he's going to Utapau and Anakin is going.
Okay, I'm getting mixed up. That's what I'm thinking of. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm with you. Just the feeling I feel on their last conversation. It's just like, oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh.
And like also in the like moment to moment of the first act, because of how fun it is, I like sometimes just like kind of forget where it's all heading. Like I just get so locked into the moment to moment stuff.
I wonder how this is gonna go.
Yeah. And so once I'm with you there, James. Once it gets to that line, and Obi-Wan heads to Utapau, like that like I can't not think about what's about to happen.
Yeah.
Even though like the stuff with Obi-Wan chasing Grievous is still like kind of fun, and especially because it's
so fun.
Especially because it's got that freaking weird. Yes, sir.
Which also is an iconic sound.
Yes,
I hear it in my head right now.
Yep. So perfect.
But yeah, good call. I love it's a very classic thing to do with movies, but I think it's really well executed. You start the two of them at they're heroes basically in the war. And their repartee, is that the word, that the term? It's their back and forth together is so good. Their relationship is at the best it's ever been. And then everything else in the movie happens after that. And it's just this slow and it starts as a slow fall. And then it just snowballs. And it does make the fall so much harder because of where they start, and it does a great job.
Yeah. Oh man. And also because Anakin ends on such a high of being this like grand hero, another like bit of believability to his character is whenever he gets rejected to be a Jedi master. Like when that happens, I'm like, what do you mean? Like I'm with Anakin. I'm like, why in the world would you not make him a Jedi master after all he's been through? And then when you have watched Clone Wars, and you're like, he literally trained Ahsoka, like, too. Like, come on, he has all of the accolades. He has everything that he needs to be a master. And oh man, like I really feel for Anakin in a lot of this film.
Yes, but I'm not going to defend Mace Windu very often on this podcast today, but I do think that they do a good job of, even though I'm with you to a degree, they do a good job of also it being, it's not just because they have some vendetta against Anakin. They're not comfortable with his relationship with Palpatine.
Yeah.
And I think that they are right to not be comfortable with his relationship with Palpatine. And so even maybe even their reasons for it aren't the right reasons, because ultimately they don't know that Palpatine is a Sith or anything. But I don't blame them for not trusting him in that way. I see their side of it right there. But as it goes on to it does kind of feel like, even at the end, Mace is like, if what you tell me is true, then you will have gained my trust. It's almost like, for now, like, maybe I'll trust you. It's, man, what do I have to do to gain your trust?
That's another tragic line to me, though, because I'm like, oh, if you just wouldn't have gone, because I kind of believe Mace, though.
Yeah,
I think Mace has always just been waiting for the reason to just trust him and hasn't found it.
Yeah,
and I don't know, maybe he's right for that, I guess, but
yeah, like I said, I think they do a good job of making me understand why, to a degree, they don't trust him to be a, actually granted the rank of master. But I also understand why Anakin would be pissed. I think there's a lot to be seen on both sides right there. So I don't give Windu a ton of credit, but I'll give him that right there. But
I think y'all both, I think there's really good points being made by both of y'all, and I think it's such a complex situation where, like, I do think Anakin is probably right to be upset about it. I mean, you don't want to be like, this is unprecedented. You don't really want to be the first guy to make it to the council and not be made a master, especially whenever it doesn't really feel like they're forthright about why. So I think there's a lot of reason to be frustrated there. And I also think, like, this sounds like such a silly thing, but I also just think tone does smooth things over. Well, like, if they could have just been like, it isn't personal and we think you're great, but we're really uneasy about some, like, why Palpatine, if they just explained it. But the whole, like, take a seat, Skywalker, it's like, man, like, because
it's the do it because I said so kind of
parenting. And Anakin even says this to Obi-Wan, where he's like, I didn't make this request. Like, because part of it is, like, they're right to be uneasy about, like, why is Palpatine request, like, he's crossing boundaries that don't need to be crossed. So there's that, but it's like they're pissed at Anakin that Palpatine's asking, and Anakin can be like, another moment that I think Hayden is great is, like, you can tell he's so anxious about asking when he's like, Chancellor Palpatine, he's not hyped about this. He's not like, guys, Palpatine says you gotta let me on. It's like, he knows how much of an overstep this is gonna feel like, and he doesn't want to have to ask. So the fact that, like, the brunt of, like, the Jedi Council's frustration over this overreach lands on Anakin, I can understand being like, frick, guys, it wasn't me, gosh. But again, it's like, to Michael's point, it's also like, when politicians start being like, I want an inside guy on, like, a third party kind of thing, you're like, oh, so it's hard. Like, it's all around. It's just a really complicated situation, and I think it's written so well in that, like, from every angle, you're like, I get that. He's gonna feel that way because they said it that way, though, but they're gonna say it this way because he has had this relationship for this long. Like, I think it's really well done.
And I do think too, Obi-Wan does have a good like kind of fatherly moment after that scene where he says he kind of gives Anakin a little perspective there. He says to be put on the council at all at your age, it's never happened before, like.
And he's like, it's only a matter of time.
Yeah, it's gonna happen. But the fact that it's even you're on the council at all at your age is really something. And so like I think that's really good, like fatherly kind of advice from Obi-Wan there. And then that leads to a really great moment between them too.
It also has a line that cracks me up though in a way, and I don't think it's intended. Whereas it's just, it feels like a guy reading a description as opposed to a dialogue where he's like, "You are very brave. I have trained you since you were a boy." Like I don't know, just like yeah, I know.
Just in case you didn't watch the first movies,
I was the boy. I know.
It pulled a final reckoning there, you know.
In the very smallest of ways.
Yeah. Oh man. So I obviously want to touch a little bit on the Utapau Grievous stuff a little bit more, but I don't want to spend too much time there because we're already an hour and a half into this.
Yeah.
And we have a whole lot more to talk about. So,
well, yeah, if we're kind of going chronologically, we cannot pass by the opera scene.
No.
And you know what I mean? Like that scene has to be talked about.
Yeah.
The Darth Plagueis the Wise scene.
Another quote.
Yeah. That scene to me, we've been talking about the dialogue in the prequels. This scene is incredible. I think every line of this scene is so good, and man, at this point, Palpatine's claws are like, okay, I'm not even hiding this anymore. I am like going all in here. Like, I don't know how Anakin doesn't see the evil right there, but he is very much like, okay, I'm bumping this up a notch here. It's getting to be close to time to move.
I think he waits for the perfect time to do it because Anakin keeps being told no, you can't do this, you can't have that, and not getting like James was saying, the tone, they didn't really give full answers as to why. And so I think part of it is Anakin is really he's desperate.
He's in a vulnerable spot.
And he was just asked, I think Palpatine is smart in terms of when he chooses to do what, because he has waited until he can say, they asked you to do something you found objectionable, didn't they? They asked you to spy on me. He waits until they ask that of him before he plays this.
Yeah.
So that once he hears Anakin say I must admit my faith in the Jedi have been he's like, aha, now I can. Yeah. And oh, it's so good.
Oh, it is so good. And he's really planting the seeds now for and again, it's Palpatine is a master of deception because he is not planting these seeds that are obviously evil. He's planting the seeds of there is a way to learn how to save the ones you love from dying. That's a great thing to hear in Anakin's situation because of what he's been seeing at night. And it's dreams.
Great that they established in Act 1 that he's remember what you told me about the Sand people. So it's Palpatine knows what the loss of his mother did to Anakin.
Exactly. So and so he knows how he can get him.
Yeah.
And then also Anakin has been having the visions that have been weighing heavy on him.
The bad dreams. Right. Anakin's just having the bad dreams. Oh my gosh. I can't believe Anakin killed all those kids because he had a bad dream. Why don't we
Nobody
hear
said-
that?
We
Why
know
don't we hear that?
we never hear that. We never hear that. I love that we can't go more than like a half hour without doing that.
It's because it works in such like perfect like unison with this trilogy.
They've established the power of dreams in Star Wars. That's well established, and it's from this movie. It's from the one before. So but yeah, Palpatine just going at this point is now just being, he's so smart, but I just think, gosh, this is where it starts to become so sad because again, Anakin isn't just like full on evil at this point. Anakin is just trying to save the one that he loves. And the way that he goes about it actually causes it. It's so freaking sad. And, but this is the scene to me where it obviously there's other scenes that Palpatine like is definitely, stringing the webs along, but I do think that this one is like, this is for me an iconic Star Wars scene, not just because the dialogue is really great and the story is great,
the
and it
setting
also
is
adds,
so cool.
the setting is so freaking cool. The music is
It's so good.
It's so cool, and it also adds a whole like backstory of lore that people like are obsessed with to this day. But it on a character level, like Anakin, this really rocks Anakin's world. And then we see very shortly after he has another dream, and at that point he knows he has to save her. And
also shout out to the ability to have like to write a line again. It's like Michael said, like the writing, the dialogue writing in this scene is phenomenal.
Yeah.
And like shout out to the ability to let a villain brag, just describe what he did and pat himself on the back for it and still be like, I didn't say anything. I didn't implicate myself. Like,
yep.
That whole is like
such a politician.
It's for him to be able to be like, he then killed him, at the classic, the memed, ironic. He had the power to save others from death, but not
himself. And the face that he makes when he says it too. Oh,
he's
so
literally
smug.
like, look at how good of a job. He never saw it coming. He is bragging about himself, about the most the kind of crime you'd never want to get implicated in. This is me, I'm the Sith Lord kind of thing. And he's just all but saying it out loud. And because of where Anakin's at, you kind of buy why he's just, that's not where his mind's at. He doesn't care how he does this. He doesn't, that's not the point. It's what is he talking about in terms of like what it can be used for Anakin. But I always love that idea that like he is so openly patting himself on the back and he completely gets away with it.
And then the final nail in the coffin. How can we learn this power? Not from a Jedi.
Yeah.
Man.
Oh.
Freaking brilliant.
Yeah, dude, this movie rules.
It does. It really does.
The amount of like depth that's behind the writing in this film is just so good.
Yeah.
Wonky dialogue and all.
I love it.
So good.
Kind of I guess to move on to like the stuff, we get a lot more of the war stuff between this and like the third act, like with Utapau and Kashyyyk and stuff. And for just a broad brush like shout out to how freaking awesome Utapau and Kashyyyk look. Because I think the shot in Kashyyyk of like the dune like copter flying around the mountains,
it's so
cool. That shot is
also
amazing.
I love the low angle shot that's like near the water and the like droid tank comes rolling.
Yeah,
dude. The water like
Gosh,
splashes on the
so
camera.
cool.
It's awesome.
and the Wookiee.
The Tarzan. We allow it. We allow it.
It's incredible.
I love it so much.
Yeah. What
That's
about
like
the
just
droid attack on the Wookiees?
Exactly. That's like a 2-minute war sequence, and yet that's some of my favorite bits of just like battle imagery in all of Star Wars is that
It's
Kashyyyk
so
battle.
sick, dude.
Yeah.
It like just the dark green, the shot of Tarful like leading the charge, and also just the beach clone armor is awesome.
Yes.
Oh,
Some of my favorite clone armor. I think like this all of the Kashyyyk stuff. You know how like a lot of times a lot of movies can have really awesome concept art and you're like, dang, I wish that was in the movie. To me, the Kashyyyk stuff here is exactly that.
yeah,
Of like,
that's a good way to say
they
it.
actually put the concept art like in the film because it looks like a freaking painting. It's so
It
good.
does. It's
And-
so beautiful.
And like this is like one of my favorite parts of the visual effects is on Kashyyyk. I think like the rainy environment like really adds to how well the visual effects hold up here, but like it looks incredible.
Something about forests too. Something about forest, the green in fog
I've never seen
and
so much green
rain.
in my whole life.
I've never, yeah. And I that's again, not to like, I know you guys, we talk about the sequels. We love two of the sequels, right? Like there's a lot to love. The world building and just in general, the imagination with the planets is kind of lacking in that trilogy. When you see, I mean, this is, it's a forest, right? It's a forest planet. This looks totally different than Endor.
Yeah.
Like this is not just another forest planet, but when you see, I feel like there's multiple sand planets and multiple forest planets and multiple snow planets, and it's just like, okay, a lot of these are looking just like, okay, well, that one looks like
What if we
Hoth,
just had one biodome, and that's the planet?
Yeah.
right? But like these are like, I mean, even, and then you go to Utapau, and it looks so different than anything we've ever seen.
You also have
All of-
Megiddo.
And
Felucia.
we see so, oh yeah, right. And we see so many planets in the Clone Wars era, in the prequels, and they all are so unique. So it's just the imagination that went into these worlds. That is lacking in the sequels too. I think, just as far as not just political world building, but actually the worlds.
Actually building worlds,
building the worlds,
the
like
literal
literal
world
definition. Yeah.
That's a good point, because I haven't even really thought about it in those terms, but we don't have anything that looks as cool as Utapau in those, because that's such a cool design. Just the deep tunnels and building cities that are like the levels going down and whatnot.
I will say the Rise of Skywalker impressed me with two locations. One was like the asteroid ice thing, and then also I can't remember what is it, Kajimi? Is that what the planet is called?
Yeah, Kajimi's cool.
Yeah,
both of those planets were really cool. Canto Bight is cool.
Canto Bight's super cool too. I love the design of Canto Bight as well. But like
overall,
I
the
hate
other planets
the idea of it, but the place that the Sith Eternal are at, that with the lightning strike thing they're doing there, that
very cool design, cool design. But like you think of Jakku, and then the other planet that they meet Lando on in the Rise of Skywalker, those are identical, but they're different, completely different knockoffs of Tatooine, right? Like both of them. And so like you want some like this, again, to go back to Kashyyyk, like this is a forest planet. We've already seen forest planets in Star Wars. This looks completely different. The design
Ralph
is
McQuarrie is the temple. Like,
yep.
He is drawing crazy alien stuff, and it felt like the sequels were too scared to really go. Even with the literal alien designs, it feels like they're too nervous to go full alien.
Yeah, I agree. The sequels are good in a lot of ways, but those ways, I think they're missing a little bit of imagination.
Yeah,
unfortunately. But yeah, that's mostly to just give the kudos to the team here. Like the Kashyyyk, I've always just wanted to go to Kashyyyk because it's so freaking cool, but it's also
Fallen
dangerous, so I don't want to actually go there. But like, and then also, I always say I love Ewoks. I love the Ewoks so much, and I'm always a fan. But after seeing this, I'm also like, but I get why people wanted it to be Wookiees instead.
Wookiees just so cool.
Like, imagine if that happened on Kashyyyk instead. It could have been pretty sick. Not gonna lie.
Yeah. Yeah, the Wookiees are so freaking cool. Also, like, another thing, if it would have been on Kashyyyk, that would have been really cool too, because like post Revenge of the Sith, they like set up all this lore that like the Empire turns Kashyyyk into like this slave trading place where they like turn all the Wookiees into like slaves and stuff. I'm like, man, that would have been like so
like liberating war.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
it would have been so perfect for Return of the Jedi.
Plus, then we could have met Chewie's family from the holiday special.
Exactly.
Yeah, dude, we needed that. George Lucas, go back in time and change that, please.
But then I also think Utapau is like the introduction to it, the dun 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 dun, as Grievous is landing, is that musical track is so freaking cool. It's insane. And I love getting my moment to see all of the separatist leaders together again. Might get to see my boy Newt, and I think I forget the name of the Geonosian guy, but I think we also see Wat Tambor and everybody and what like. Yep. I think it's kind of cool seeing them again there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then also again, alien designs going absolutely crazy here on Utapau.
Oh man, yes.
The Powans. Dude, I can't remember what the character's name is. But the guy that's talking to Obi-Wan.
Yeah, dude, he looks so sick.
So freaking good.
Legendary actor too, the gyrocopter from Mad Max and the mouth of Sauron from Return of the King.
Yes, sir.
Crazy. He never looks normal.
And this is where I'm gonna have to crap on Kenobi a little bit. But man, why on earth would you not? You had the blueprint right here. Why would you not do that again?
It even looks more prosthetic-y in Kenobi, where it looks like it's a normal dude's head that's kind of it's a little bit just bigger on the side. Like this thing looked like a real person. Like it just looked like that's the natural skull shape.
Yeah. I think, and if you wanted to have the argument that like maybe there was a reason why like they couldn't do much with much movement, because the Grand Inquisitor, that's what he's called, right? The Grand Inquisitor, he requires a lot of movement. This guy is just walking, but I would imagine, if I'm not mistaken, I think I've seen that the stuff that he's wearing is hard to like move in. You can't really do a lot of stuff with it. If you want to make that argument and why they went with another direction, I get that. But what they ended up with was like, okay, well, did you try anything else?
Also, I'm not convinced.
This is like
that
20 years later.
Yeah, like there's no way prosthetics.
Yeah. So I'm with you guys. I think there's probably a reason why they didn't do the exact thing, but prosthetics have come a long way. You can move a lot in prosthetics now.
And also like to the point that they got at in the show, it just like breaks continuity like so hard, because it's like you have like we already know what they look like from Revenge of the Sith, and now you do this and it's like not even remotely close. Like if it was,
we already know what he looks like.
Yeah.
Like, and I also think there might be like some budget constraints on this too. Obi-Wan looks really bad at times,
but its budget is huge.
Yeah.
Well, for TV show though, it got a lot less than Andor did as a budget, and as far as the budget
But it has
goes.
significantly fewer locations than Andor. Like it's
Right. I mean,
It also has significantly fewer like additional actors.
right. It's just it's one of those things. It's one of those things where it's like, okay, could you not have used some of that money that you that you're not paying a bunch of fees for, actual locations? Could you not use some of that on some of this other stuff? Because yeah, Drew, you're right. We've established what this looked like. You have to at least get close. We understand it is a TV show and it's not a big budget movie, but there's a problem when it looks like cosplay.
I think it's more of a problem of like they almost had the idea that like, well, what you see in Rebels is the exaggerated Rebel style, so we're gonna like make it look more normal, because they do kind of the same thing with Cad Bane, where it's like, well, Cad Bane does not like. He's supposed to be. He's one of the canteen, or you see his species in the cantina in A New Hope.
Yeah.
And Cad Bane, the makeup and prosthetics does not look like the thing that you see in A New Hope. It feels like the assumption is, well, the eyes that you see in animation are way bigger because it's animation and it's exaggerated. So they pull it, like they shrink his eyes quite a bit and they kind of make it a little bit more like humanoid proportional. And then you realize, wait, hold on, the blueprint for Cad Bane was in A New Hope. And now their live-action Cad Bane looks significantly different from the original alien that inspired it all in the first place in A New Hope.
Yeah, I didn't have much of a problem with Cad Bane. I think he looks pretty close, but yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying. I think in general, the live-action shows, like when they show, a lot of the time when they show, oh no, I'm forgetting the species name. The people of Ryloth, where are they? What are they called?
Oh, Twi'lek.
Twi'leks. Live action Twi'leks look really bad most of the time. In the shows.
I was about to say, you see Aayla Secura? I don't.
No, in the shows. In the movies, they look great, but it feels like it's just like, okay, this is a person with something on their head. Like it looks worse, generally speaking. But I think in general, that's the live action shows have cheaped out a little bit on that stuff.
Yeah,
unfortunately. But yeah, he looks great in this movie.
Yeah,
George Lucas didn't cheap out here.
Battle droids.
He's like, I'll pay for it myself. I'll pay for it myself.
And so I did it. Yeah, see?
It's like poetry.
Well, faster, more intense. I love that he just got these catchphrases that everybody knows.
What a guy.
But then we start the descent.
We do. And while we're starting that descent, freaking Grievous finally fighting and having 4 arms, flipping his lightsabers around like crazy. Also, we get the iconic hello there.
This is my favorite Obi-Wan. Like cocky, arrogant.
Yeah. You'll move.
I love it so much. So uncivilized.
Yeah. It's so impossible to like not love him.
I know.
And I love Grievous in this scene too.
He's great. Obi-Wan is just having a blast. Like he's enjoying this fight. He's like, finally, I get to do something fun.
So that's why I've always like thought that like he like this is showing him as the swashbuckler. Like it always feels like he loved his job, you know, like he would complain about it all the time, but he's loving it. He loves the globe trotting, galaxy trotting kind of aspect to what he does. He's having the time of his life.
Obi-Wan the swashbuckler and Obi-Wan the detective are my 2 favorite Obi-Wans, I think.
Yeah.
Also, I love the shot of the spinning lightsabers, and like we get closer on his face, and we're just seeing it, like the way Grievous is walking.
So cool.
And pretty cool way to go out.
Oh yeah, the whole chase is awesome,
Yeah.
and yeah, like also in the actual like duel, like right before Grievous is killed, I love how powerful Grievous feels because you know, like he's made out of metal, and so whenever he hits Obi-Wan, like you can actually like feel those hits on him, and like
Yeah.
even the scream that Obi-Wan does that's like memed
When he
out of his
kicks him.
mind. Yep. Where he's like, oh, like it's just so convincing. Um and then dude, the freaking design of like his insides
Oh yeah,
underneath the armor,
that
so nasty.
weirded me out so much as a kid, man. That's so
Yeah.
weird.
God, I love Grievous so much. He is like my favorite kind of. We invented a secondary like henchman villain for a movie. Like he is the perfect form of like I'm here to be like that level villain for this movie. Like perfect design, iconic lines, great presence. He gets to participate in an awesome chase in battle. Like
Yeah.
I
And he
love
doesn't
Grievous.
like because of the way that they handle his character, he doesn't feel like just like a throwaway henchman. Where like I feel like a lot of movies, especially lately, when we get like a henchman, like secondary kind of villain, they're just kind of like they're there and then they die. And like I don't really get much out of it. But Grievous is so unique. Like not only just from his design, but also the way that they approach his character.
And we don't get a lot of like actual character development with Grievous. He's just awesome. Like
Yeah.
that's
And I don't want exactly like I don't want it. I
you
just
don't
want him
need
to be
it.
Grievous.
It's just he's just awesome in every way he's supposed to be awesome. And yeah, we don't need anything else from him.
Bring back cool henchmen, dude.
Yeah.
Bring back Grievous. Bring back Jaws.
Yeah, dude.
We need those kind of henchmen, dude.
Yeah,
I'm into it. What comes after this? Where are we in the depression now?
yeah, we're in the depression now. Yeah, you know, at this point, I mean, we've gotten the battle with Obi-Wan and Grievous, but now we have Anakin grappling with what he's about to do, looking across the
Because he's told he calls him. He's like, "You are the Sith Lord," and
Yep.
Palpatine's still kind of like he's still working it there, where he's like, "Use my gifts, I beg of
beg
you."
Yep.
And it's like you feel that, and again, it's like it's another testament to Anakin, where he's like, he goes and he tells Mace,
Yep.
like he commits to it in that moment, and like even though again it's a sign of the dark side, whenever he's like, "You want to kill me, don't you?" And he's like, "I'm very much like to."
Yeah.
But again, he's like, it's the anger at least is pointed in the right direction of like,
Right.
you have manipulated me. You are evil. Like,
Yeah.
I think like ultimately Anakin still had like good intentions here, and that that gets downplayed even harder. We had already mentioned it earlier in the stream, but whenever Anakin and Mace Windu and Palpatine are like in that conflict, Mace Windu saying the same exact line that Palpatine says, that like just really sets in. Like I feel like anytime that Anakin up until this point was having the constant pull between the light and the dark side, he really was trying his best to hold on to the Jedi way.
because he saw distinct, and I think in this point he's now like, y'all aren't different, kind of.
Yeah.
Man,
that moment too, the music where
of him at the window,
him and Padme staring across the city at each other.
like top 5 Star Wars scene, maybe.
It's beautiful, it's haunting, it's so sad, but it's like, oh, the things that he's thinking about. and like him knowing what he's about to have to go do, or he feels like he has to go do.
The shot of like his face from the side with the tear that goes down is just unbelievably perfect and iconic.
I have one more. Here's a small gripe here, not anything about that scene, but coming up when the Jedi go to arrest Palpatine.
Oh, I was about to bring it up myself, dude.
It's so lame when the way that they go out,
It's
man.
bad.
They suck. like it's the lame. These Jedi have shown to be cool. Like they've shown to be skilled before, and
they're Jedi masters. Like there's no reason why they should go out like that.
Masters, and they're
This
just
is how Kit's going out, dude.
Oh, yeah, Kit Fisto, y'all. Like that's really how he's going out. It's so lame, and also I do feel like to an extent, and I like it sometimes, but once Palpatine is fully out of the closet here, he is a little bit mustache twirly, and I like it sometimes, but I also at times am like, I feel like you're a cartoon character all of a sudden. It kind of feels like we were talking about Gabriel in the Final Reckoning. I feel like there's a certain point where it's like, you're like, just, you might as well be twirling your mustache right now. You're totally different than you have ever been in the movie. And I feel like that's kind of how he becomes at the end. And I kind of like when villains they're like, okay, I have nothing to hide anymore. This is all me now. And I'm just, I'm going all out. I like that. But there is a point a couple of times where like when he like falls back, when he's battling Yoda, he falls backward in his chair and then like, I don't know how to describe it, but his legs are above his head and he's like, oh, like it's a very comedic fall. There's just stuff about he is kind of a cartoon at the end. I kind of wish they dialed that down a little bit because it makes him a little less scary, I think.
Yeah.
But
I'm gonna have to. I can't. You're going down a path I can't follow.
Oh man. Okay.
I'm with Michael on this one.
Oh man, I eat it. I love every last bit of it. That I am this, and I love the weird.
I love that.
The screech, the
dude, I do love that screech.
And I love it, my little green friend. I love every single bit of it. I love the no.
Like, I do love the no.
There's
like I said, so I love some of that too. It's just sometimes I don't.
There's not a moment for me that I don't love.
I do love the part where when Anakin starts to actually like defend Palpatine and actually cuts Windu's arm off, the moment that it cuts to Palpatine and he goes like there's this like evil grin for a split second, and then that I love all that. There's nothing wrong with any of that. I love it.
I also love right before then when he's like, the Jedi are taking over.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. I see all of it to me is it's all of one cloth, and
Mitch is with you, Jimmy J.
Good. Mitch and I will be right together. I just think, and like the fall thing, it's always kind of funny to me, but it looks like a realistic fall. Like actual falls are kind of funny, and I don't think there's a different way that a guy could like get knocked over on that chair and not like I've literally seen a friend at like a group study at my house like fall back because I've got a chair that I did not warn has like not good balance in the back, and like the feet just point up. So to me it's just this is always good. So maybe as a director you just decide, well, we're not gonna have him fall in the chair. Yeah, but I don't know. As far as Ian McDiarmid goes and the writing for City, I adore all of it. Every bit.
I get it, and I love some of it. I just feel like it gets a little bit silly at times. For the record, I like the My Little Green Friend line too. I don't
hold on. If
dislike
we like
all of
that, and we like the unlimited power, and then no, what's the line we don't? What's the bits we don't like?
It's more. It's not so much lines. It's like, it's more like sounds that he makes and like lunges that he does. It just feels like you went from intimidating to kind of goofy
Well,
like,
he beat Yoda, so I guess he's intimidating, isn't
but
he?
that's what it always feels weird because it doesn't feel like he should have beat Yoda based on his silliness there. But even though I know he's all powerful.
But I love him up there throwing everything like in the Senate fight with Yoda.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah. Also, dude, Yoda is freaking awesome here.
Yeah.
Yoda.
I love seeing him flip around, and then when he's using the Force to like block the lightning and then sends it back to him. So
I love spinning the little Senate thing before throwing it. Like, I don't know why you are, but it looks awesome. So please do.
Right. I do want to shout out. There is a track, and I've shouted out this. I think I've maybe even on this specific podcast before. There is a track that plays during Order 66.
Anakin's
betrayal. And it might be my favorite Star Wars track. It's close. I feel like there's a couple that are vying for it that are like more obvious, but like this one doesn't get. I'm always telling people about this one track because it doesn't get the hype that the Imperial March gets, or that the Force theme gets, or that Phantom Menace
franchise itself. I think the franchise itself is aware of how awesome it is because like it's reused in Fallen Order, it's reused in the Clone Wars, it's reused in anytime they touch on it, they're like, what we got to do.
They use it during Order 66 in the Clone Wars when Ahsoka is defending herself from the clones too. So that you're right. As a series, as a franchise, they recognize how awesome. But I do think that as a fandom, just people who love Star Wars music, this is not one that just is on a lot of people's top 5 lists or top 10 lists. And I think it deserves it. If you listen to it, this track is the tragedy of this trilogy. Like it embodies all of it. It's the giant choir. There's dissonance at points. There's beauty at points. There's like 15 key changes, like modulations into new minor keys. And it's just like, you are just pulling every ounce of sorrow out of my heart, John Williams. And oh my gosh, it is so incredibly beautiful and devastating at the same time. And I always, any chance I get, I want to shout it out.
Mitch says he needs a Michael ranking because he said, it's also true of me. I feel like I'm always being like
a Michael ranking of what of score or of tracks.
The tracks, I'm guessing.
I don't know. I don't know if I have one prepared.
I've got so many.
I'm with you though. Anakin's betrayal is probably a top 5 Star Wars track for me. It's incredible. But you know what else is incredible? The track that isn't on the official score, which is a shame, but the track that plays when Anakin and the 501st march into the Jedi Temple. And John Williams is just dropping the hardest track. Like when I hear that track, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna be with the 501st there.
That track is on the Attack of the Clones. That track is on the Attack of the Clones score, but it's not used in Attack of the Clones. Yeah.
They accidentally put it on the wrong soundtrack.
Yeah. When is it used in Attack of the Clones?
It's not used in the movie, but it's on the Attack of the Clones score. So like he wrote it for Attack of the Clones and then never used it. Used it in Revenge.
That's crazy. Yeah. What was Williams cooking, dude?
Bro, he was on something different on this trilogy. I'm just saying. He really
I love the amount of choruses that are like
the
there's
choir.
the
Yeah,
choir.
the
That's
time we're actually hearing vocals is incredible.
It gives a distinct feel. But if you go listen to the original trilogy, there's really not much of that. There's a little bit of it, like in Return of the Jedi, we've mentioned before, but and that's really just when Palpatine is around, right? So but for the most part, it's really a lot of big strings, big brass, and all that stuff, which is great. It's amazing. It's iconic. But it does distinguish itself with it because there is that operatic feel to this whole thing. And it does kind of this tragic space opera really has a sound because of that. I feel like he really captures that space opera actual feel with that. And I think it only helps as we get into the darker parts of the trilogy, it makes things feel so much more big and grand and sad at times. And it's so good.
Oh yeah. Another track I wanted to shout out that also has a lot of vocals. Padme's Ruminations. Dude, that track.
That's the one of them at the window.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
Yep. That track, it's so weird. It's like unlike anything else in Star Wars.
It is a little more Blade Runner-y, right? Is that the one I'm thinking of?
Yeah, it almost sounds like there is a vocal on it, but it feels very different.
Yeah.
And it feels way more kind of cerebral.
A little more Kiner. The Kiners took inspiration from it on the Bad Batch and the Clone Wars later, I feel like. But gosh, it's so good. But yeah, Anakin, so all that happens. I do want to. I'm watching the movie, like I said, side by side here. Shout out to Jimmy Smits. He is so good as Bail Organa.
Yeah,
and I love his line delivery of, and so
it's time for you to leave. Yeah,
so it is. It's just he's so heartbroken. And he's just he's one of the few genuinely good guys of the Senate, right? And he's just his heart breaks whenever that one Jedi kid steps in to defend him and he dies. And his reaction to it. He's just such a great actor. I love him so much.
Yeah, but he needs to be in more stuff, honestly.
Yeah,
he's in. If you haven't watched The West Wing, he's in the last half of The West Wing, and he's basically Bail Organa, but in America. Seriously,
we could use a Bail Organa in America right now.
We really could.
Oh man.
Speaking of Bail and just the Senate aspect of everything, another moment where Lucas is like, okay, I'm gonna write a great
George Lewis.
Another moment where he's like, you know what, my dialogue is about to be awesome. Actually, is everything with the whole the attempt on my life has left me the whole reworking into the First Galactic Empire, and then this is how liberty dies with thunderous applause. That's a great line. That's a great line.
And of course, Ian McDiarmid's delivery on the First Galactic Empire is so good. We've heard it now in 5 different things, I think, but it's still perfect.
Yep.
Yeah.
No matter how many times you hear it.
It really is. Oh, man. The entirety of the Order 66 sequence on the Jedi Temple is amazing. Seeing all the lightsabers in the background and just all the Jedi getting killed.
It's the scene to me that feels, for me personally, by far the most affected by Clone Wars, because now I'm like, oh no, that's Plo Koon.
Yeah.
That's Ki-Adi. Oh no, it's just, I actually know the Jedi now,
Yeah.
And so watching them die, I'm like, dang, dude, that sucks.
And not only that, but the clones killing them.
Yeah.
Yep.
Maybe not the specific ones, but you've
Yeah.
grown to know the clones as more than numbers.
Yeah.
And the fact that they're doing this is there's the arc, the Fives arc in season 6.
Gosh. What Mitch, we got a little bit of Clone Wars talk right here. You haven't watched, you gotta watch Clone Wars, Mitch, please.
Okay, yeah. I won't do any spoilers for it, but yeah, Mitch, you gotta watch Clone Wars, bro. You are missing out.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's I will say that I think that's probably of all the things the Clone Wars adds to the prequels, I think that our relationships with the clones themselves and them being actual characters
and how they relate to the Jedi, just like the bonds they have with their generals.
Yep. I think it makes everything so much harder to watch. And not to mention Yoda just cutting through them like sliced bread.
You don't give a dang.
Yeah, you guys are dead to me now. But but I do, for the most part, I do think I think watching them do that after we know them as brothers and we know them as like the relationship that Rex has to Anakin and Rex has to Ahsoka and Cody has to Obi-Wan, and like seeing that and then seeing what happens in this movie, it really does make it so much worse in a good way.
Yeah.
We want to move into this last act before it gets too late.
Yeah.
Let's just talk about the fight.
Yeah.
I will say, there are moments in like the conversation leading up to it and a couple of moments in the fight where I do think some of the prequel critiques become relevant again.
I agree.
Sometimes it's great and like they're both giving it their all. One line that does kind of stick out as like, that's just not how, like, those just aren't the words that would have been chosen. Like whenever he's like, the Sith are evil, like
From
in the
my
middle
point
of
of
the
view,
fight.
the Jedi are evil.
Yeah, like you don't just say, from my point of view, like that's just, it feels like it's Lucas thinking in his mind, like, well, on paper, like what's Anakin thinking? He's like, well, the thing is, he's thinking that from his point of view, the Jedi are evil. And they're like, actually, there it is. From my point of view, the like that's what it
Yeah.
feels like, and it's like you're not taking the idea that he's of what he's feeling. That like, yes, in his state of mind right now, he is seeing the Jedi as evil, but you're not taking that idea and turning it into like a speakable line that somebody would say.
You would say, so are the Jedi. Or
Like, are the Jedi any different? Like,
are the Jedi any different?
A line that a normal, like, that a human being would say, as opposed to the literal fact of the matter of like, yes, from my point of view, that like, yes, I get it in reality from his point, but that's just
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes he doesn't always take his ideas and turn it into like words that people use, and we get that a few times in this.
Only a Sith deals in absolutes.
Yeah.
I agree. There's a few lines, and then there's even a couple of times when they're like fighting in the lava, and like I feel like even just what they're doing in the fight can get a little ridiculous at times. Most of the fight is incredible. Everything they're doing is great. The two of them. But it's more like, okay, they're just like, they would both be on fire right now. Like they're
care.
Like they're whatever. I mean, it's cool, but it just gets a little bit much at some point. So we're just
also one more or two more things real quick before the fight actually breaks out. I feel like the exchange between Anakin and Padme again like has that same kind of like dialogue
Yeah.
problem where it's like, you're breaking my heart.
I want to defend the breaking my heart line. I want to defend it a little bit. I think that line gets a little overhated, and the way that she delivers it is some of her best acting of the trilogy to me. Like, I don't think that line is bad. I think that in general, that's not the worst part of this exchange to me. I always feel like people make fun of that line specifically, but it's not. When I watch the movies, I'm like, I get why you would say that, and the way that you're saying it is kind of believable to me, actually. And so I don't know.
I think I'm more on Drew's side on this one. It doesn't. I don't know. I get it. To me, it is one of those instances where, like, you find out that that everything that you've been told about, this is confirmation that, like, Obi-Wan was right, that he was killing kids and everything. It just doesn't feel like you're then like, you're breaking my heart. Like, I don't know. I don't feel like that's what you'd say.
Yeah.
And
It's
then
like
it
my
goes on into
tactical
the, you're
understanding.
going down a path that I cannot follow. And she's trying, but I don't think it's like, this is not like,
Yeah, I don't mind any of that. I don't mind any of that at all.
I think it's kind of bad. I don't know.
I do mind it. You know what else I do mind too?
Only my new powers can.
That's the line to me is way worse. Only my new powers can save you, or whatever.
I wasn't going to say that,
terrible.
but why the heck was Obi-Wan aura farming, hitting that Superman pose in the ship? I
'Cause he
laugh
looks
every
dope.
time now. Like, he looks rad, but it's so random. Like, what are you trying to do? Like, freaking jump scare Anakin with the aura farm?
Exactly, dude. That's what he's trying to do. You know, he was there for like 35 seconds before being like, I hope he notices.
But yeah, that's like one of those things where I just see it and I can't help but not like giggle at it because it just takes me out of it a little bit. Dude,
yeah, that's one of those things.
He did let him cook a little bit later.
Yeah.
That's good. This is one of those things in the movie that's like, yeah, I know. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it too, but it's just, oh man.
That's Obi-Wan being the Obi-Wan that he's been this entire movie. Man, that's
true.
that goes
Also,
so well.
Whenever Hayden's having to be angry and yelling, I think he's fantastic.
Yeah,
like whenever he's like, liar, like,
Yeah,
like
it's so
oh
good.
gosh, dude, this guy's scary. This guy's literally about to kill me.
You will not take it from me.
Yeah, like there's so many moments in this movie where I think he's really great.
I do too. And I'm not gonna lie, this is a cosmetic choice, but the orange eyes are sick.
Iconic.
When he turns around and looks at the camera after killing everyone in there, is like, oh man, you just look so cool.
Fantastic.
You make the dark side look cool.
Also, again, Mustafar being an absolute like S tier planet design.
Dude. Again, lava planet, blah blah blah. No, this is a cool design for a lava planet.
Cool lava refinery. I don't know what they're doing, but it's cool.
Yeah, why are they refining? I don't know, but it's cool. And I do love that that's where Vader's lair is later in canon as well. That's super cool.
I love that they showed that in Rogue One. I'm like, oh, that is incredible.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because
be careful not to choke on your aspirations.
Love it.
I love it so much.
It's interesting because lava can make glass, and you know what glass is in?
Maybe that's what he's refining.
It's in sand.
That's what's being refined there.
Yeah.
He takes Tatooine there to melt it down.
Exactly.
Destroying Tatooine little by little.
That's what he does in his free time.
But yeah, the fight itself, though, I love it.
It's so good.
Fantastic.
It's still, if a fight is made, like if a fight, like if we judge all of these duel scenes in Star Wars by all of their ingredients, like the emotion, what it means within the story, the choreography, the music, because Battle of the Heroes for
Is
me is a top 5, no question about it for me.
Yeah.
top 10 for sure. Yeah.
I
So good.
whenever Mitch and Drew and I are playing Fortnite and we're even though I guess it doesn't make sense in the context for some reason, whenever we're dropping in Fortnite, I'm just dun da 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 as I'm landing because it feels right. I love this theme so much, and they hit so many iconic images, like the image of them holding each other's arm, like with the lightsabers clashing and the lava splash behind. Like,
That's why it shows
dude,
the thumbnail.
yeah, exactly. And there's why it's like on it. Like, you don't make a Revenge of the Sith poster without putting that on there. Like,
Yeah.
it's just
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah, and the thing that really, like, yes, the moves that they're doing, the choreography is incredible, and the work that the two of them put into they do so much on their own, and it really lends itself to the authenticity of it. Like, you really feel it, and like all that's amazing. Everything about that's amazing. The music's amazing. It's the emotion. That's what the most important thing for me is in duels. Like even like the original duel between Vader and Obi-Wan is like choreography wise is kind of silly, but what it actually means is actually really cool, and it's really powerful. So I have it up there in my rankings if I was to rank all the fights, but this one would be up near the top, right with Luke versus Vader in Return of the Jedi in the throne room, like right there, because thematically and emotionally, this is some powerful stuff. It is so good, and they both act the crap out of it. It's just incredible, like peak Star Wars. Honestly, It really is, and and then he don't try it, and he does try it.
Yeah. And then again, we get some of the best moments from both of them again. Like, I love the you are my brother, Anakin.
Oh yeah.
I love you. And I love, like, Anakin at this point, even in his state of lost limbs, is so consumed by hate that when he hears his brother saying I love you, his first reaction is just to scream. Like, that delivery is just perfection.
And seeing him like just melt away is
Whenever
crazy for a PG-13 movie.
Yeah. Whenever he like starts to catch fire again, and Obi-Wan is literally just like, oh, like he gets to the point to where he can't even really look at it anymore.
Look at it.
He just has to walk away.
It's so sad.
And the music again in that moment.
Yeah.
Hard
And
not to cry.
Another, like, the music that then plays whenever Sidious discovers him lying there, and like we start to go into, like, we transition from him finding him and saying he's still alive to the medical and suiting up. That like weird little quiet violin is like amazing to me. It's so good.
Yeah. So how do we feel about like the unless you guys have more thoughts on the actual like fight?
The only other thing I wanted to say about the fight is I love that it doesn't just stay in like one location. I love that they're like traversing like across the entire refinery and more. It just makes it so much more dynamic and entertaining.
Yeah.
This is a duel of two Jedi in their prime,
Yeah.
And they take full advantage of that.
Yeah.
For sure. I totally agree.
100%.
Yeah.
Well, what were you going to ask though?
No, I was just going to say, so like after the fight, after Anakin gets fried, I feel like from this point on in the movie, it's almost plays like an epilogue a bit.
Yeah.
Kind of leading up to, getting Luke and Leia where they need to be and all that stuff. How do y'all feel about that portion of the movie? Like, do you feel like, for me, I love a lot of it. I do kind of feel like it feels really rushed at times. Like, it feels like we've taken so much time with some of this other stuff, but now that we're here, it's like, it just feels like Padme has Luke, has Leia, and dies so fast. It's like, oh my, whiplash here. It's happening so fast here. But then there's other times at the end when they're having a conversation around the table, and Bale is like, my wife and I have always wanted kids, or have always wanted a kid, and so we'll take her. We'll take good care of her, or whatever. Like, I like that stuff where they're actually taking the time. But it does feel like, to me, at times it rushes a bit, and I wish it would just sit in the sorrow a little bit more,
I love pretty much all of it except for the Padme stuff. I don't mind the like part necessarily where she gives birth to Luke and Leia, but one of my biggest problems about the movie is what they do with Padme and how she dies, like where like she lost the will to live. Like I can't buy into it, especially because Anakin just force choked her. He didn't like do anything to actually like why is she in a coma or whatever? Like, right? Like, it just there's so many like things about it that don't logically make sense for me. And I know there's like things where we've talked about where it's like, oh well, I can give a pass for that. Like, they're not catching on fire because they're Jedi and it's awesome. Like, I don't care, right? But the Padme stuff, like, I can't buy it. It I think that George Lucas could have made it a lot more interesting and impactful, but it doesn't work for me.
Yeah. So I know there actually have been cases in which there have been like almost medically inexplicable deaths that have been linked to like just when you mix a level of like mental shock and depression, like that there have just been people like, especially whenever you have the inherent trauma of labor mixed with like incredible, like super intense emotional shock, that people have died in weird ways like that. So in a sense, I can believe that that's a thing that can happen. And I think, maybe I just, the bigger thing is like, was that how we want Padme going out, who's kind of been this political fighter and all of this, and is now has like 2 kids,
That's my biggest issue right there.
And is
like, what do you mean you don't have the will to live? A mother would 100%. But yeah, I agree.
As far as the rush, I don't know. I kind of like everything else. I like that it feels like a desperate last attempt to like scrape something together of like, well, so the entire galaxy just got turned on its head. Like overnight, the Republic became the Empire. And so it's like, we got to send a message, get Bale over here. We've got 2 kids we don't know what to do with. It feels like, it's just kind of becomes this scramble to like, what's the move? What are we doing?
I also, another thing I really love that they do here is set up Yoda discovering how to like
commune with the Force,
yeah,
or whatever,
Qui-Gon.
with the Force Ghosts and Qui-Gon. I think that's just an amazing connection. It feels like a lot of the prequel comes comes full circle with that, but then also setting up how Obi-Wan knows how to do that for A New Hope. I think that's just a brilliant way of doing it, because it's like a weird thing where it could feel like a okay, but it doesn't feel that way to me. It feels very natural in the way that it's executed, like
Yeah,
Order
agreed.
66.
Agreed.
And then I really like seeing the Tanto 4. Like,
Yeah.
and it looked like so perfectly recreated. I'm like, this is cool.
Yeah.
Also, one of the coolest shots in all of Star Wars to me is the mask coming down, and whenever it's fully placed, whenever he breathes in and then out, and you see the swirls of the dust, like that shot is
Yeah.
unbelievably cool.
So good.
Awesome.
It seems you killed her. Whatever.
No.
Don't love that.
yeah, could have done without that.
Listen, in
But-
Star Wars, anytime Vader yells no, it doesn't work. Don't stop it. Stop it, George.
But we get the cool shot of him like standing in front of the Death Star, crossing his arms. Like
Great.
I love that shot.
Great.
And we get flipping
Tarkin.
Harkin,
Yeah.
which I think is a cool little tidbit
Yeah,
that he
nice
he
little-
made the transition easy.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He he was like, I've been waiting for this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I also love like the very end of the film when
Same.
Obi-Wan brings Luke to
Yep.
Uncle Owen and
Amber.
Amber, yeah.
I know some people feel like it should have ended on like one of the shots of Vader, like the mask shot or him in front of the Death Star, like that kind of stuff. And it could be cool, but to me, and then they specifically don't like having like it's Revenge of the Sith and we end on like the binary sunset and blah blah blah. That's kind of like edgelordy to me, where it's like this is Star Wars though, which has a very defined worldview. It's a very good and evil story.
Yeah.
And even though we know that we're ending episode 3 with 4 around the corner, we're still making our fight. Like this is the end of the trilogy. We're making our, our thematic statements. We're ending with the imagery that's meant to be like to kind of carry you through its ideas. Yeah, like the next movie is A New Hope. This is Star Wars. You gotta like fundamentally, you don't end on those shots, for a trilogy ending. So
Yeah.
I love
if it was like, the second movie ending in that way.
Yeah.
I'd get it. But yeah, to end the trilogy.
But
no.
even second movies, like they never end. They never end on depression. They always end. Even Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
The last shots are, yes, they lost, but there's still hope.
Yeah.
Like it's a hopeful shot, even though, you know what I mean? Like to me, even though this all has happened and we were at the end of a tragedy, Star Wars is always about hope in the end. And so like, it's so fitting for it to end on that shot of them looking at the twin suns there to me.
Yeah. And then also the like new version of the Force theme. Like that entire track. I think it's actually, I'm pretty sure the track is called A New Hope and end credits.
Yeah.
Phenomenal.
Nice.
Phenomenal track. I think it's I don't know. It's the perfect ending for me. I would not have it end on another shot. People who think otherwise are wrong.
Yeah. No, I agree. I totally agree. And yeah, guys, did we do it?
I think we did it.
We did
This
it.
movie's awesome.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it really is.
We did it in under 3 hours, technically.
Yeah.
Talking through it really does maybe like there is so much more about this that I love than I don't. Like,
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And honestly, whenever we did the rankings the last time, I think Revenge of the Sith is actually above Return of the Jedi for me.
yes. It's better.
Revenge of the Sith is above Return of the Jedi. Wait, was it not before? I don't remember.
whenever we were doing the stream, I put Revenge of the Sith, or I said Return of the Jedi above Revenge of the Sith.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
Listen,
I'm like,
listen.
no, I'm like, I like flip flop between those two all the time. I feel like anytime I rewatch them or like talk about them, I'm like, oh man, it's this one. But I don't know. I think what Revenge of the Sith is doing thematically, and just all the inner workings
Return of the
behind the
Jedi
politics and stuff.
thematics, bro. Come on. Come on.
Oh, dude, they're great.
Come on.
They're great.
I also like. I love Act 1 of both, but I prefer the Coruscant rescue. I think comparing the middle portions of the two is Revenge of the Sith by leaps and bounds.
Yeah.
But the third act is Return of the Jedi. As good as Revenge of the Sith is.
Maybe, I don't know. I think the Endor stuff kind of starts to pull the rug out from under. It's not the perfect third act, and there's no one thing that we're ever cutting to or sharing time with in Revenge of the Sith that ever undermines it. It's just
except for dialogue.
yeah, that's true.
It's not perfect. There's the story is great,
yeah,
but
we also have the run far away, which
it's not bad. It's not that bad.
That's bad. That scene is not good. And then there's just a lot of Han and Leia stuff going on in the third act, and I'm like, oh gosh, I'm just rolling my eyes.
Could you tell Luke? Is that who you could tell?
Yeah, that, and Leia is awesome. We don't need the movie to try to like force Leia to be more awesome by like reverting the whole "I love you, I know." I always thought that's such a just let Han. We can let Han have his whole like "I know" moment without having.
No, that's a great moment.
No,
Come
I hate
on.
that moment.
Oh, you're too hard on this movie. You're too hard on this movie.
No, Jimmy Jam there.
What?
Yeah, because
I've never met anybody who dislikes that part.
I know a lot of people who don't like that.
Well, y'all are all stupid.
No,
I'm just kidding.
Because it's so cinematic and dramatic and movie like in Empire, and then here it's going along with the "I love you, I know." It feels so goofy.
No, I think it fits Han's character perfectly.
Oh, okay, yeah. So you're with me. Then.
Oh, yeah. I was saying I disagree with him.
Yeah, okay. I was like, I thought you were with James.
It does not fit Han. Nothing Han does in that movie fits Han out after the first act.
No, listen, I love how we're debating Return of the Jedi now. I do get to a point how Han is different. He is a different Han to a degree. I see that, but I don't mind. I like some of it. You can tell sometimes that Harrison Ford is checked out. But
hey, it's me.
I love that line.
I don't like that.
I love it. I really, really do. but yeah, like for me, like as far as if we're ranking these two movies, one of the other, I totally get why someone would have Revenge of the Sith higher than Return of the Jedi. But for me, the first acts are kind of equal to me. Both are great. You're right. The middle act of Revenge of the Sith probably has the upper hand, but for me, the third act of Return of the Jedi is perfection. Like, I basically have zero issues with it. I love the Ewoks
so
even. So
with Endor.
I love Endor, almost all of it. And but obviously, besides Endor, the space battle and the throne room are like, you want to talk about thematically powerful, like.
Yeah. Those sequences are perfection, especially the throne room.
Yeah, but again, I get having Revenge of the Sith higher than Return of the Jedi. I do.
Yeah,
we're talking about great Star Wars.
Speaking of getting things, let's get the ratings for this movie.
Oh, what do Michael, I rate this movie?
What do you rate this film?
Let me check my letterbox real quick. Actually, I have it at 4.5 stars. I re-ranked it, or I re-rated it after watching it in a theater, so I'm sure that has something to do with it. But yeah. Again, Star Wars rankings are different than others for me, or ratings. This is a movie with dialogue like this that isn't Star Wars would be lower, but I don't care. I simply do not care.
I've got it at 4 out of 5. For this Star Wars logic does apply to most of it, but it is like my mind does think about it and dwell on it enough to where it's like, well, I can't say it's not anything.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, even lines like, if you're not with me, then you're my enemy. Like there's lines sprinkled throughout the movie where I'm like, man, this is, and it's not just like throwaway lines. It's like, this is the big line.
Yeah.
This should not be what it is. And then there's other, just like we didn't really talk about some of the technical stuff. There's certain elements of George Lucas, the director, that I love, and there's a lot of other elements of George Lucas, the director, that I'm like, that's not really the way movies should look. So it's enough to hold it back from beyond that, but it's a very, very strong 4, and it's a 4 that I love more than 90% of my other 4s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's also 4 out of 5 for me. And I echo James here. I think like the issues that I have with it, stand out pretty well, but like I still love it like through and through. And it's not like I would go back and change the movie because I love it for what it is. So, but yeah, it's easily the best out of the prequel trilogy. But I also love the Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones. So the haters are wrong on the prequels. Prequels freaking rule. Haters drool.
True.
But yeah, that was fun. The fun did begin at the beginning of this, and now the fun is ending. Yeah. Unfortunately,
another happy landing.
Yeah. Another happy landing indeed.
There's a Star Wars quote for everything from this movie.
There really is. Ironic. But yeah, if you guys enjoyed listening to this, first off, thank you for everyone who joined us in the chat. Mitchie man, thank you for still being here. Says there's other people viewing us right now, but they haven't been commenting, so they're a bunch of haters. But yeah, thanks for everyone who tuned in. And if you're listening on the podcast feed, make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel, which will be in the link tree in the description. And you can also join our Facebook group, which is Banter Fodder Film and Television Discussion Group, which is also in the link tree. So you can join it there. It'll give you a direct link to the group. So definitely do that to keep up to date with all of our podcasting stuff. Anyways, though, it's time for us to leave a galaxy far, far away and go to sleep. But before we go,
Drew, land this.
Go support your local theaters. Watch some good movies. There's a lot of movies out in theaters right now. We've talked about some of them. Go watch 28 Days Later or Years Later, but also watch 28 Days Later. All right, we'll see you later.
Bye.